Chapter 136. Luo Peishan was accompanied by Shen Shuhan, the governor of the right. When he reported the news to Luo Peishan, he didn't know the specific situation, so he didn't rush back. His speed was about the same as his daily trip. Shen Shuhan was different. Although he received the news much later than Luo Peishan, he was faster. They almost met outside the gate of the Luo family. Luo Peishan chuckled. The governor of the right's daughter. Not bad, not bad. How could Shen Shuhan not hear the sarcasm in Luo Peishan's words? But he didn't dare to talk back. First, he knew that he was in the wrong and couldn't help being weak. Second, he had seen Luo Peishan's power. If he dared to talk back, he might be scolded by Luo Peishan without any vulgarities. Therefore, he had to be extremely careful along the way. Like his wife, Shen Shuhan was calculating how many benefits he could get from Ding General Manor. But now, the most important thing was to appease Luo Peishan's anger against their Shen family. Compared with being the target of Lord Luo's attack at any time and place in the future, he would rather not get any benefits. That wicked girl did such a thing. It was said that men were in charge of external affairs and women were in charge of internal affairs. It was reasonable to say that this marriage was generally handled by the women of the inner residence. But when it involved the face and interests of several families, and even factional struggles, it was not the women of the inner residence who had the final say. With the arrival of the two leaders, the atmosphere changed again. It seemed that Ding General Manor seemed to be a little weak. "Madam, what's the matter? Tell me," Luo Peishan said to Madame Luo. Madame Luo first signaled the family doctor to take Miss Shen's pulse, and then briefly explained the matter. "I see." Luo Peishan stroked his beard and glanced at Duchess Ding meaningfully. "Then there's nothing more to say. Let's break off the engagement." He made the final decision. Not to mention the other two families, even the Luo family was very surprised. In the end, at most, Sun Yilin took Miss Shen as a concubine and the Shen family apologized to the Luo family. It should not affect the marriage between Sun Yilin and Jing Wan. Other than Madame Luo, who was still sitting quietly, Sun Yilin was not surprised at all. In fact, when he first heard about this matter, he already had this premonition. He knew very well how much the elders of the Luo family treasured Jing Wan. He remembered every word his little sister said to him, and he would never forget the promise he made to her. However, it had only been a few days, and reality had given him a tight slap. Sun Yilin's body swayed. He didn't know if his legs were weak or something else, but he knelt on the ground. "Lord Luo, is there really no way to salvage the situation?" Anyone could feel his pain and despair at this time. Duchess Ding was about to go crazy. Her son had been a proud son of God since he was born. He was neither servile nor overbearing in front of the emperor. He had never been so embarrassed and even servile as he was now. Because of this little b***tch of the Luo family, he had broken his bottom line again and made himself look bad several times. She stepped forward and glared at Luo Peishan while grabbing Sun Yilin's arm, trying to pull him up. "Isn't your Luo family going too far?" Luo Peishan laughed, but his eyes were as cold as ice. Duchess Ding also knows the word, going too far. Why didn't you think of this word when you bullied my good grandson? Now you haven't done anything to your son, but you're going too far. Do you really think the Luo family is easy to bully? Sun Yilin brushed away Duchess Ding's hand. "Lord Luo, I can leave Duke Dinggua's mansion. I can set up another family." In fact, after listening to his sister's words, he wanted to live alone with Jing Wan outside after getting married, but it was not so serious as to set up another family. It could be seen that he was now forced to a dead end. Originally, he thought that he had 2 years to plan this matter, but he was happy for less than 10 days before God completely cut off his path. If Luo Peishan's words were surprising, Sun Yilin's words were absolutely shocking. However, most people didn't understand. How did this relate to setting up another family? Only a few people who could see through this matter clearly knew the extent of Sun Yilin's despair for him to say such words. This time, he was really buried alive by his own mother. Duchess Ding was trembling with anger because of Sun Yilin. She raised her hand and slapped him. Bastard, you actually said such unfilial words for a woman. I raised you for more than 10 years in vain. Sun Yilin tilted his head, and a trace of blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. It could be seen that Duchess Ding was so angry that she slapped him hard. However, he didn't look at Duchess Ding. She was also his mother. Otherwise, because she was his mother, Luo Peishan was stunned. He ignored Duchess Ding and looked at Sun Yilin with warm eyes. He sighed. Don't say such stupid things. You should know that it's impossible. No one will allow it. If he really did that, Duchess Ding would probably make a scene. Not to mention the third girl, the whole Luo family would be in chaos. You are a good boy, but... He had a mother who was a hindrance. The harem was a woman's world. If her good granddaughter married into Duke Ding's mansion, she would be tortured by her. If she dared to resist, she would be labeled as unfilial. It was not the third girl's fault, but her fault. According to Duchess Ding's current attitude, she might know that family scandals should not be aired in public. If the third girl was unfilial, it would definitely be a hot topic. In this way, how could she have a foothold in the future? Duchess Ding looked at Luo Peishan sarcastically. Lord Luo is good at talking now. It's just that his mouth is sharp, but his education for the younger generation is not good. The girl he taught is a vixen. Not only did she seduce my son like this, but she also made him a jealous woman. She doesn't tolerate anyone at all. At this moment, Luo Peishan couldn't help but be furious. He restrained himself and didn't slap her directly. He was a man. If he fought with a woman, who was from another family and a woman appointed by the imperial court, it would be wrong even if it wasn't wrong. But Madame Luo didn't have that scruple. She had been enduring until now. As the saying went, there was no need to endure anymore. She got up, took a few steps forward, and raised her hand to slap her. Duchess Ding was stunned. She had never suffered such a loss since she was born. She raised her hand and was about to hit back. Not to mention that Luo Peishan didn't allow it. Sun Yilin also stood up to stop Duchess Ding. Duchess Ding wanted to push Sun Yilin away like a crazy woman. Madame Luo stood behind Luo Peishan, and her eyes were as sharp as knives. Come on, beat her out for me. Beat her out? I'd like to see who dares. Enough. Sun Yilin said coldly. Duchess Ding looked at her son in disbelief. His mother had suffered a loss. Not only did he not help, but he also dared to say such words. What did you say? I said that's enough. Sun Yilin stood in front of Duchess Ding. He was a head taller than her and looked down at her without any warmth in his eyes. Duchess Ding was stunned and suddenly didn't know what to do. Sun Yilin grabbed her wrist and pulled her out forcefully. He couldn't tolerate his mother's slander of Jingwan. If she was really beaten out, was she not ashamed enough? Duchess Ding wanted to break free from Sun Yilin's hand, but it was like a pair of pliers that she couldn't break free. Sun Yilin walked very quickly. With such a mother, he was ashamed to stand in the Luo family's territory. Duchess Ding couldn't keep up with his speed. She stumbled and looked very embarrassed. She only felt that she had lost all her face today. After leaving the Luo family's gate, Sun Yilin didn't need Duchess Ding to say anything. He directly threw away Duchess Ding's hand, took his horse, turned over, and waved his whip. At this time, Duchess Ding's hair was a little messy. In addition, there was a red palm print on it, which surprised the people outside. Duchess Ding was angry and hateful. She didn't dare to stay any longer and hurriedly got into the carriage. The servants brought by Duchess Ding didn't dare to breathe at this time. They wished they could find a hole to hide in. In the Luo family's mansion, the Shen family was still awkwardly stored there. No one had expected that things would turn out like this. Lord Shen, you should take your wife and miss back. It's your business how you make trouble with Duke Ding's mansion. Don't involve our Luo family again. Luo Peishan coldly sent him away. Shen Shuhan repeatedly apologized and said that he would come to apologize on that day. Luo Peishan waved his hand impatiently. From the moment she entered the door to the moment she went out, Miss Shen's pulse was only taken. Other than that, she could only endure the pain. After leaving the Luo family's gate, Shen Shuhan glanced at Miss Shen. "You are very bold." Miss Shen couldn't help but tremble. Facing her own father, she was scared to death. She no longer had the courage to kneel in front of the Luo family's gate and beg. Although Shen Shuhan was a military general, the education he received since childhood and his own thoughts were typical of a scholar official. He paid attention to the hierarchy of the concubines. He had many concubines and many children, but he always respected his wife and valued his sons. He was a little better to the sons of the concubines. As for the daughters of the concubines, he basically ignored them. If his wife was cruel, none of the daughters of the concubines could live. However, the wife of the right governor was more open-minded, because she knew very well that Shen Shuhan only respected her and didn't love her. His heart was filled with his childhood sweetheart, his cousin, the current imperial concubine Su. The Shen family wholeheartedly assisted Prince Rue, which was not without this layer of reason. Her status was stable, so she didn't expect love. As for the children of the concubines, she didn't like them, but she didn't treat them harshly. It was still useful to use them for marriage. A good marriage was also a great help for her son. When you go back, explain the ins and outs of the matter clearly. If you are smart, you should know whether to tell the truth or lie. Shen Shuhan's tone was still as usual, but it was because of this that Miss Shen became more and more afraid. She didn't expect it to end like this. She originally thought that Duchess Ding was dissatisfied with her future daughter-in-law, so she didn't lose face. And she could get what she wanted, so she came to the Luo family. Although she also thought about damaging the reputation of the other girls of the Shen family, her father and the others would always find a way to redeem it. However, Duchess Ding turned hostile and refused to admit it. She was even more shocked by Master Lin's infatuation with the Luo family's third daughter. Not only that, the Luo family's love for her daughter was something she didn't even dare to imagine. How could a person like Master Lin break off the engagement just like that? At this time, the backyard of the Luo family was strangely quiet. The two masters with the highest status were in a state of anger, so the servants naturally didn't dare to speak carelessly. If they were heard, they would definitely suffer. Today's Luo Jingqiang's return was originally a happy occasion, but they didn't expect it to turn out like this. In fact, many people suspected that the other party probably deliberately chose this day to come to the Luo family. Jingwan and Sun Yijia both heard that Jingwan didn't do anything, but Sun Yijia couldn't help crying. Jingwan hurriedly wiped her tears with a brocade handkerchief. "Don't cry, don't cry. I didn't cry. Why are you crying?" Sun Yijia reached out and hugged Jingwan, crying uncontrollably. Jingwan let her hug her and patted her back gently. She knew that Duchess Ding's actions hurt Sun Yijia a lot. After this time, she was afraid that she would be completely desperate. To be honest, it was really unexpected that Duchess Ding would do this. What was she thinking? Sun Yijia stopped crying with difficulty, but her eyes were red. "Sister Wan, don't hate me. Don't dislike me. She has never considered me. She has never cared about me." From then on, Sun Yijia wouldn't step half a step into Duke Ding's mansion unless it was necessary. It was even equivalent to unilaterally cutting off ties with Duke Ding's mansion. Everyone was well aware of who Sun Yijia was referring to. "I've said it before. You are you, and she is she. Sister-in-law, you just have to live a good life with my third brother." Sun Yijia nodded. She knew very well that if it were another family, she would have been isolated and helpless. "Little Sister Wan, my fifth brother isn't that kind of person. That child is definitely not his. Furthermore, he always has people by his side. How could he be so easily tricked by others? Furthermore, he knows his own situation and has always been very careful with his belongings. The people around him definitely wouldn't dare to do anything like stealing. However, as the saying goes, guard day and night, the family." Sun Yijia couldn't finish her sentence. "How ironic. You trampled on your future daughter-in-law's face. Didn't you think about your son's face? Or did you really think that no matter how embarrassing your son was, he would always be in high demand? Jingwan was silent. She was his mother, the person closest to him. She had always doted on and protected him like a precious pearl. As his son, he could guard against anyone but her, right? Not to mention that she had only taken something behind his back. Even if she had asked for it in front of him, she would at most feel strange and ask for it. She could easily dismiss you with a casual sentence. She had never done anything before. Could you suspect that she had ulterior motives? Absolutely not. No matter how smart and alert a person was, they would fall for it. Therefore, Sun Yilin was really very innocent in this matter. He had been schemed against by his mother too miserably. Sister Wan, it's not that I don't want you to break off the engagement. It's best if you break off the engagement. I just don't want you to misunderstand fifth brother. After all, he treats you. It's probably nothing if the whole world misunderstands him. But if you misunderstand him, he will definitely feel more pain than being stabbed with a knife. Fifth brother was already very pitiful. Sun Yijia didn't want to rub salt in his wound anymore. This salt especially couldn't be sprinkled by Sister Wan. Otherwise, he would really be in so much pain that he wanted to die. The siblings were born noble and were favored by the heavens. However, now that they had fallen to such a state, everything happened to be brought to them by the person who originally doted on them the most. What could be more ironic and painful in the world than this? She was lucky. Not only did she not fall into the mire, but she also obtained happiness. However, her fifth brother lacked that luck. She really didn't dare to imagine what would happen to fifth brother in the future. I know. As the saying goes, the onlooker sees the game clearly. Although Jingwan was in the game, she was not bewitched by Sun Yilin. Therefore, she saw the whole thing very clearly. Sun Yijia saw that Jingwan was calm and composed. He sighed silently in his heart. In the end, fifth brother and her were not fated to be together. The servants of Duke Dinggua's mansion first saw the fifth young master return in a hurry with a red mark on his face. When Madame returned, they watched her sneak back to her courtyard. The servants who followed her didn't dare to breathe loudly. This trip to the Luo family was probably so satisfying. The people in the other rooms were gloating. However, they all knew very well that now was not the time to go to the door and watch a show. If they were not careful, they would get into trouble. Duchess Ding changed her clothes, redid her makeup, applied medicine on her face, and covered it with makeup powder. However, because it was a little swollen, it was still very obvious. She hated it to death in her heart and was even more depressed. Knowing that Sun Yilin was in his own courtyard, she looked at the bruises on his wrist. Her good son was an ingrate. She rushed over angrily. However, she didn't expect to be stopped at the gate of the courtyard. The furious Duchess Ding slapped him. The manservant guarding the gate of the courtyard was also depressed. It was an unexpected disaster, but he didn't dare to continue to stop her. Sun Yilin stood by the flowers in a daze. He didn't change his clothes and didn't apply medicine on his face. You unfilial son, how dare you let someone stop me outside? You're really strong. How dare you do such a thing? Sun Yilin didn't pay attention to her at all, let alone salute and greet her. Duchess Ding's chest heaved up and down. She really felt that she was about to die of anger. I'm talking to you. Do you hear me? Look, what's there to see? It's just these flowers and plants all day long. I'll burn them all with fire. Sun Yilin finally looked at her. His eyes were unusually cold. After looking at her for a moment, he said, I won't stop you. I won't let you take my things and give them to those women who came out of nowhere. What nonsense are you talking about? What do you mean I took your things? Duchess Ding couldn't help but feel guilty about this. Mother, do you think everyone is a fool? Do you think I can't guess what you did in it? I didn't. Duchess Ding hurriedly denied it. Ha! Sun Yilin laughed sarcastically and with indescribable bitterness. You know best whether you did or not. I don't even know what Jingwan did to make you hate her. In order to humiliate her, you could admit that the bastard of an unknown origin was your son's child. You even took my things to her as proof. When you did this, did you think of me? Now, the engagement is going to be annulled. She won't marry into Duke Ding's mansion anymore. Are you finally satisfied? It's best if it's annulled. That shameless vixen, you used to listen to me, but since you met her, you've become disobedient and unfilial. You even made me prepare to propose marriage when I didn't know anything about it. What do you think of me? Also, with her low status, how can she be a match for you? Now I can see that she's jealous and doesn't tolerate anyone at all. I don't dare to have such a daughter-in-law. Annulled the engagement? What right do they have to annul the engagement? If anything, it should be annulled by us. What right do they have to criticize my son? What's wrong with my son having a woman? Men have 3 wives and 4 concubines since ancient times. They still dare to annul the engagement. What do they take our Duke Ding's mansion for? Duchess Ding kept saying that she wanted to accuse Jingwan of being jealous and intolerant. In the end, she just wanted to cover up what she had done. Even if the engagement was annulled, she wanted to pour dirty water on Jingwan. At this moment, Sun Yilin really felt that it was unprecedentedly ridiculous. Is this the reason why you're targeting Jingwan? Am I your son or a puppet in your hands? Do I have to put everything first? I suddenly feel that my father is too fickle and you can't catch him. As your son, I'm obedient to you in everything, so you have the illusion that you've shifted your affection. You can't tolerate me paying more attention to anyone than you? When I get married and have children, they are bound to become the people I care more about. At that time, mother, will you be jealous of your grandson? Duchess Ding's face turned green and white. Sun Yilin was right and she didn't know how to refute, or she was so angry that she couldn't speak. Sun Yilin looked at the lush flowers and trees in front of him again. One more thing, mother, you don't have to deceive yourself. The Luo family didn't annul the engagement because of that inexplicable child, but because of you. They didn't choose me, but you. I said, don't treat others as fools. It's too obvious who will support the daughter of a concubine of the Shen family. Mother, it's you who ruined my good marriage. Sun Yilin only felt that his eyes were sore, but he just couldn't cry. I also feel that maybe my little sister and I are not your biological children. You brought us back from somewhere else, and we are the children of your enemy. Sun Yilin, Duchess Ding's voice was unusually sharp. How can you say such heart-wrenching words? Her eyes were red, and she only felt a burst of pain in her heart. Isn't it? Otherwise, why do you hate us so much and can't bear to see us well? I've only seen mothers who would do anything to fulfill their son's wishes. I've never seen a mother who would scheme and obstruct her son just because he showed concern for his fiancée. In order to embarrass her son's fiancée, she didn't even care about her son at all. Mother, do you think I contradicted you, hurt you with my words, and hurt your heart with my words? But do you know that my heart is bleeding now? It's you who stabbed it again and again with a knife. It's now full of holes. As if to verify what he said, Sun Yilin covered his chest and his body swayed. Poof, he directly spat out a mouthful of blood. Yilin. This sudden change scared Duchess Ding out of her wits. How could she still be angry? She hurriedly reached out to support him. Where are they? Where are they? Call a doctor quickly. Sun Yilin steadied his body, brushed away Duchess Ding's hand, and wiped his lips indifferently. The red blood on his hand was particularly glaring. My little sister is the daughter-in-law of the Luo family. If you were in the Luo family's shoes, how would you treat my little sister? You should thank Jingwan. If it weren't for her, my little sister would have been thrown into a corner by the entire Luo family. If they were more ruthless, they might have asked their brother-in-law to divorce his wife directly. In that case, they would probably have taken my little sister's life directly. Don't say things like whether the Luo family dares or not. So what if Duke Ding's mansion is a duke's mansion? Do they really think they can cover the sky with one hand? Since Lord Luo could sit in the position of Minister of the Ministry of Appointments, his means were naturally not trivial. If he was ruthless, he could definitely tear off a piece of flesh from Duke Ding's mansion and make Duke Ding's mansion suffer a great loss. My little sister is our blood relative, but as her maternal family, not only can we not help her, but we also hold her back again and again. Her blood relatives don't love her and don't care about her. As a newly married woman, she has to rely on her sister-in-law to stand on her feet. The one who loves her the most is her sister-in-law, but her sister-in-law is regarded as an enemy by her own mother. I always thought that you were reasonable and open-minded. You could also see the situation clearly. You were a qualified mistress and a qualified virtuous wife. I also thought that you still doted on my little sister very much, and I thought that you loved me the most. But it turned out that you cared about yourself the most. You didn't allow others to ignore you or disobey you. You didn't care about those who couldn't be controlled by you at the beginning, such as my father and the Empress, but you could control them, such as my little sister and me. Once we crossed your bottom line, you seemed to have gone crazy. You lost your mind, disregarded the consequences, and only thought about your own pleasure. It seemed that all the unbearable things had been exposed and exposed under the bright sun. Duchess Ding gritted her teeth and stared at Sun Yilin, as if she had completely forgotten that he had vomited blood. Unfilial son. Sun Yilin acted as if he hadn't heard her. Since you can't allow me to care about others more than you, and you are my mother after all. You gave birth to me and raised me for more than 10 years, so what if I fulfill your wish? I won't marry in my life. You don't have to worry about me turning my elbow to an outsider and abandoning my mother when I have a wife. If you want to burn these flowers and plants, then burn them. After Sun Yilin finished speaking, he directly walked out. Duchess Ding looked at Sun Yilin's back that was getting farther and farther away. She only felt dizzy and fainted. Her body went limp and she fell to the ground. "Madam!" The servant's exclamation made Sun Yilin stop and wipe his face. In the end, he turned around and quickly returned. He carried Duchess Ding in his arms and sent her back to the house. He was not in a hurry to find a doctor. The doctor that Duchess Ding had asked someone to find for him was about to arrive. In the end, he took advantage of this time to tidy himself up and apply medicine on his face. Compared with Chan Zhengmin, Sun Yilin was obviously more mature and had a stronger tolerance. But at the same time, it meant that it was more difficult for him to change his mind and it was difficult to turn back once he had decided on something. Duchess Ding woke up soon after the doctor gave her an injection. When she saw Sun Yilin beside her, she couldn't help crying. "Yilin." Sun Yilin's face was calm. He glanced at Duchess Ding indifferently. "Since you're awake, go back and have a rest." Duchess Ding saw that Sun Yilin was about to leave again. "Yilin, are you really going to distance yourself from me because of a vixen?" Sun Yilin stared at her. "I just like the third Miss Luo. Is she a vixen?" Then, during the time when father admired mother, was mother also a vixen? Don't ruin our last mother-son relationship. Don't make me not want to go back to this home. Don't make me not want to call you mother again. Why was she still not awake at this point? Didn't she know that her position as Duchess Ding was in danger? It was very likely that she would only exist in name. Didn't she know that the real trouble was still to come? He was basically sure that the Shen family would insist that the child was his. Those who were hostile to him would take this opportunity to smear him and reduce his influence among the scholars. The Empress might throw her mother out completely in order to protect him, but that would also damage the reputation of Ding General Manor. The best way was to push the blame to the Shen family. However, once Miss Shen committed suicide, even if it was just for show, public opinion would be biased toward the Shen family. After all, people were born to favor the weak. There was also the Luo family. There was still a glimmer of possibility of redeeming the engagement. That was, if his mother didn't exist in Ding General Manor, the possibility was really small. Even if this matter was completely exposed, at most she would be criticized. Other than that, she really couldn't be pulled down from this position. In fact, this glimmer of hope was equivalent to no hope. Sun Yilin only felt a sudden pain in his temples on both sides. Everything was going well, but it also seemed to be in a mess. However, the only thing he was sure of was that he didn't want to deal with the engagement so quickly. He would delay it day by day. In this way, he could still deceive himself that Jing Wan was still his fiancée. Duchess Ding looked at his tired, painful, and even desperate face. In the end, she felt distressed. Did she really do something wrong? Yilin, https://www. bicon.com/11/11807/6653072. HTML. Please click here to report. Registration is not required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book: www.bicon.com. Bicon.com mobile version reading website. Bicon.com. Chapter 137. When Sun Yilin entered the palace, there were some things that he needed to inform the Empress. It was not a wise choice to let his mother bear this responsibility. Yilin, you must know that this will have a great impact on your reputation. The Empress frowned. If Chenyang bears this responsibility, the impact will be equally great. Chenyang will not be able to get away with it and may even be labeled as unfilial. The result will be worse. The best way is to prove that the child is not Chenyang's. In fact, Sun Yilin did not care about his reputation at all. He could not marry the girl he liked, so he did not have to worry that his reputation would affect her. After knowing the Empress's ambition, her importance to him was completely out of using him. Thus, it was better for him to have less influence among the scholars. With a person like Jin Qinhuang in the dark, it was hard to say who would be the final winner. In fact, Sun Yilin had subconsciously leaned towards Jin Qinhuang. It was better not to know some things. Once you know, you will find that Jin Qinhuang's ability was much stronger than the other princes. Moreover, from his usual style, it could be seen that he was not a person who was willing to submit to others. Moreover, he had already cut off his own path of retreat. He would not give up that position to anyone. Even if he could not get it legitimately, he was bound to use extreme means. He did not care about his reputation, did not care about the world's evaluation of him, and naturally did not care about what kind of stroke he would leave in the history books. In this case, in front of people who did not belong to his camp, it was the wisest to reduce his presence. Unfortunately, Sun Yilin would not know that his approach did not have any effect. From the moment he took a fancy to Jing Wan, he had already become a thorn in Li Hongyuan's side. No matter how low-key he was, it was meaningless. This kind of thing is the most difficult to prove. How do you want to prove it? Find the child's biological father and it will be over. Sun Yilin said indifferently. The Empress looked at Sun Yilin. Recently, he had changed more and more, especially his temperament. She was not very clear about the reason. Are you 100% sure that the child is not yours? Sun Yilin furrowed his brows. Although the woman from the Shen family claimed that the child was his, he said, I haven't investigated the exact situation. There's an 80% chance that it's not his. But, the remaining 20%, even if it is his, we must make sure that it isn't. As for what kind of consequences this would have on the Shen family's daughter, it was completely out of his consideration. He had never been a saint. It was true that the culprit who ruined his marriage was his mother, but the Shen family's daughter was the fuse that ignited the fire. As for his mother's attitude towards Jing Wan, even if this matter did not happen, she would most likely make other troubles. Perhaps from the beginning, it was destined that his marriage would not be successful. Sun Yilin refused to think more about it. In the end, Sun Yilin mocked himself. Actually, he might have been in the wrong in this matter. He had underestimated how much his mother cared about Jing Wan. If he had been prepared from the beginning, perhaps he would have known his mother's thoughts earlier and had a good talk with her. Things might not have turned out this way. After calming down, Sun Yilin actually found some suspicious points. For example, how did the Shen family's daughter get involved with his mother? If she really found out that he was pregnant, shouldn't she look for his family members first? Why did she think that it would be better for her to find his mother? Sun Yilin always felt that there was something fishy about it. Although he didn't want to face his mother, he still had to ask about the specifics. The Empress agreed to Sun Yilin's request. However, her sister-in-law didn't take her words to heart and did something stupid again. It seemed that she had to be given some practical training to learn her lesson. As a result, Duchess Ding, who held the power of Ding General Manor, was deprived of all her rights and divided by several daughters-in-law and sisters-in-law. This blow was not small for Duchess Ding. In the inner residence, without the right to preside over the internal affairs, it meant that she might have to make a living under others. Although her status was still there, it was not so bad. However, from her previous power, she might not be able to order many people around. The loss was too great. Looking at his mother's irritable state, Sun Yilin was a little glad that her power was taken away after he found her and asked about the matter clearly. He wanted to delay the engagement, but the Luo family didn't think so. The reason they gave him was very legitimate. If they didn't want his mother to be exposed, it was better to break off the engagement before he found out the matter clearly. But in this way, Jingwan would really bear a bad reputation of being jealous and intolerant. Sun Yilin cared about it very much, but Luo Peishan and Madame Luo didn't care, because Jingwan had a way out. It didn't matter if her reputation was a little bad. Moreover, as far as the royal family was concerned, jealousy was nothing. As long as the emperor was willing, he could send as many women as he wanted to his son and even his relatives. Sun Yilin felt very guilty. He felt that the Luo family sacrificed Jingwan's reputation in order to protect his mother's reputation, which made him more and more ashamed. In fact, he also thought that after he figured out the matter, the Luo family would have no reason to break off the engagement, at least on the surface. The Luo family's attitude made him feel ashamed. He really couldn't force Jingwan to be tied up. This was really a beautiful misunderstanding. In fact, it should be known that Duchess Ding trampled on Jingwan's face like this. Would the Luo family think of her by repaying evil with good? How stupid and naive was he to think so? Was Sun Yilin stupid? Couldn't he think of this? Didn't he doubt why the Luo family was in a hurry to break off the engagement at this time? Probably they really hated his mother and were worried that he would not let her go. Apart from this, Sun Yilin couldn't think of any other reason. He had clearly felt his mother's extremism and stubbornness. It was more realistic to expect her to accept Jingwan as her daughter-in-law. Sun Yilin opened his mouth, but in the end, he didn't say anything to save it. In fact, we can wait until this matter is settled, and then break off the engagement on the grounds of incompatibility. It's not good for the third young lady to break off the engagement now. Since we have decided to break off the engagement, it's naturally better to be straightforward. Our Luo family can't let people who have nothing to do stand in front of us. This kind of involvement was really unnecessary. Luo Peishan was really for Sun Yilin's good. Otherwise, he was really afraid that Li Hongyuan would deal with him. When the living king of hell made a move, he could make a move with a 120% effect. I don't mind. Don't say such stupid things. Sun Yilin said this sentence from Luo Peishan for the second time, with the care and persuasion of an elder. After the discussion, the engagement was quickly broken off. Sun Yilin originally wanted to see Jingwan, but naturally, he didn't see her. However, he met with Sun Yijia. Even though she knew what her fifth brother wanted to know, Sun Yijia still didn't say a word. Not only because it would make him sadder if she told him Jingwan's true attitude, but also because it was really not a wise move to reveal her sister-in-law's matter to an outsider. Sun Yijia simply told him about her situation. She was doing well in the Luo family. Whether it was the elders or Luo Jingbua, their attitude towards her had not changed. With the third young lady of the Luo family, I don't have to worry about you. However, I hope that you can be happy in this life, together with fifth brother's part. Fifth brother. Sun Yijia looked at Sun Yilin, who was obviously thinner, and felt very distressed. Was he really going to bury all the good things together because he couldn't marry Sister Wan? Don't worry about me. I'm fine. If you don't want to go back to Duke Dinggua's mansion, then try not to go back. Because Sun Yilin was dealing with things here, he naturally didn't ask about the other side. Things related to Jing Wan were naturally more important than that side, even if it was breaking off the engagement. Because he didn't show up, the conflict between the Shen family and Duke Dinggua's mansion became fiercer and fiercer. Moreover, because someone secretly added fuel to the fire, almost everyone knew that a daughter of the Shen family was pregnant before marriage. That's right, it was a daughter of the Shen family, not a specific one. Therefore, the young ladies of the Shen family, especially those who were of marriageable age, were affected. None of them dared to go out, because once they went out, there would be the chance that someone would look at their lower abdomens. Some people even brazenly asked about it. They were ashamed, annoyed, and angry. They hid at home and didn't dare to go out, especially those who were in the middle of a marriage discussion. The marriage was very likely to fall apart. God knew how many times they hid in their rooms and cried. The culprit was naturally the most unlucky one. She got into trouble one after another, and all kinds of humiliation and curses made her almost collapse. Perhaps because they still needed the bastard in her belly for the time being, the wife of the right governor appropriately stopped them. However, she only stopped them from punching and kicking each other. The culprit, concubine Qin, suffered. The other concubines vented all their anger on her because their daughters were implicated. Obviously, Prince Rui's faction didn't expect such a one-sided situation that was very unfavorable to the Shen family. After Shen Shuhan figured out the whole thing, he communicated with Prince Rui. The whole faction of Prince Rui worked hard to put the Shen family in the position of the victim. However, once this kind of thing happened, it had a particularly big impact on women. Sometimes, it was obvious that the girls were raped, but they were still called shameless, vulgar, and all kinds of insults. This time, the nature of the matter was a little different. After all, Sun Yilan's reputation was very good in the past, and there was no stain on his reputation. It was reasonable to say that it would be particularly bright if it was suddenly stained. In addition, it was easy to attract other people's attention to him deep in the mountain, and thus weaken the Shen family. But obviously, the original goal was not achieved. The memorial accusing Shen Shuhan of not teaching his daughter well was spread like snowflakes on Le Chengdi's imperial desk. What did this mean? It only meant that the other side was too arrogant. They had fought back and forth countless times, and there were wins and losses between them. But this time, they seemed to have lost a little too badly. Prince Rui flew into a rage, and Prince Kong was naturally jubilant. However, there were still some people who felt that there was a problem, and one of them was Sun Yilan. After he dealt with the matter of the engagement, he found out that Prince Kang's faction didn't have such a strong control over the public opinion. There must be a third party behind this matter. Who was it? The Gong Prince? Or the Jin Prince? In Sun Yilan's view, the latter was more likely. But what was his purpose in doing this? In fact, he didn't need to intervene in this matter. Even if he intervened, shouldn't he treat both sides equally, and just make the overall situation more chaotic? This was in line with his interests. No, only he knew part of the Jin Prince's true situation, other people didn't know. If the situation was too chaotic, beyond the scope of control of either side, it would certainly arouse the suspicions of many old foxes. Only this kind of one-sided situation made Prince Rui's faction believe that Prince Kang's faction was stirring up trouble. But why did he help himself, and not the Shen family? According to reason, even if it was for the sake of Imperial Consort Su, he should help the Shen family. When Luo Peishan Darren talked about this situation with his old wife, he couldn't help but sigh again. Why are you sighing? Old Madame Luo didn't understand. I'm worried that our family's third girl will become an enchantress who will bring disaster to the country in the future. That Shu daughter of the Luo family stepped on third girl's face, and Jin Prince wants to throw the entire Shen family into it. I'm afraid that this matter will only become more and more intense, and if things don't go well, even the married Shen family's daughter will be implicated. Jin Prince's selfish desires are so heavy, in the future, as long as third girl has a bit of preference, wouldn't it be possible to make a big deal out of it? Old Madame Luo directly gave him a supercilious look. You still don't know what kind of temperament Wan Wan has. At her age, she has always adhered to her original heart. In the future, Would she be narrowed her eyes and lose her sense of propriety? If she really encountered something that shouldn't be done, Wan Wan would naturally advise her a bit. When that Shen family's daughter knelt in front of the Luo family's door and made a big deal out of it, she should have thought that there might be such a consequence. I don't think Jean Prince did anything wrong. Luo Darren chose to shut up. He could see clearly that when it came to third girl, his own old wife and Jean Prince's thoughts happened to coincide. All right, this engagement had been dissolved and it would not be announced to the public for the time being. Everyone's attention was on that side, and for the time being, no one would have any ideas about third girl. It was proper for him to take advantage of this time to familiarize himself with the Ministry of Personnel. Old Madame Luo pondered. It was reasonable to say that Duchess Ding Guofuren was the culprit. Jean Prince chose to make a move against Shen family and not Ding Guofu, which seemed to be somewhat unreasonable. Li Hongyuan pushed for the previous matter, but he didn't want them to make it public. Shen family was stabbing a knife in the open, but in Ding Guofu, it was a knife in the dark, and it was specifically aimed at Duchess Ding Guofuren. What people cared about the most was what they wanted her to lose. The higher one was, the more they wanted you to be as low as mud. In the past 2 days, the relatives and friends of Ding Guofu didn't come to visit Duchess Ding Guofuren. They ridiculed her openly and implicitly, and cursed Sun Yilin. Duchess Ding Guofuren was so angry that her whole body trembled. But when she showed off her power and prestige, no one paid attention to her. There were even some bold ones who directly resisted. She was so angry that her heart was attacked several times. In the end, she fell ill and her body collapsed. If she could recuperate well, there might be a day when she got better. However, all kinds of accusations and all kinds of humiliation made her bear too much pressure. Not to mention being calm and peaceful, let alone reflecting, she became more and more paranoid. She refused to take medicine properly, often smashed things, and even wanted Sun Yilin to personally take care of her. Sun Yilin had to enter the palace to do errands and was busy investigating who the child in Shen family's daughter's belly was. He didn't recover so quickly after breaking off the engagement with Jing Wan. His mother was still desperately tossing and turning. It could be said that she was mentally and physically exhausted. Duchess Ding Guofuren was drinking medicine when she suddenly knocked over the medicine bowl. You unfilial son, do you also wish that I would die now so that you can marry that vixen of the Luo family? After a while, she cried miserably. Yilin, I will immediately arrange another marriage for you. Can you get married right away? She was probably really afraid that Sun Yilin would never marry again in his life. She began to lose her temper when she didn't get a response. Sun Yilin was silent, then got up and left, ignoring his brothers and sisters-in-law inside and outside the house. He didn't even bother to look at Sun Yibin's provocation. As for what was behind him, Sun Yilin, I'm telling you, I won't die so easily. Don't even think about marrying that vixen of the Luo family. He also ignored it. Sun Yilin sometimes wondered how his mother became like this today. In the past, she also had to be tolerant, restrained, dignified and virtuous. Although she was strict, she was also gentle. But now, the Shen family was badly battered, so naturally, they wouldn't let Sun Yilin go. When Sun Yilin was ruthless, he could also stab people until they were black and blue. He spoke without any vulgarities, degrading the girl of the Shen family to be worse than a prostitute in a brothel. Moreover, he had asked the doctor of the Luo family about how long the child had been possessed. It had been more than 3 months, and the other party insisted that it was his. He basically confirmed the time and place of the incident. It was not long before Jing Wan came to the capital, and Prince Kong invited her to the imperial plantation outside the city. In fact, it wasn't that difficult to be bad. However, he did drink too much at that time. Just as he was about to deal with them one by one, someone took the initiative to stand up. It was none other than Prince Kong. Sun Yilin wasn't sure if it was really him or the Empress asked him to stand up. However, since someone took the blame, Sun Yilin happily threw it away and had no interest in investigating further. In front of the Shen family, Prince Kong was very straightforward. He drank too much, and in a daze, he went to find his cousin to have a candlelight talk. In the end, He fell asleep and occupied his cousin's room. His cousin moved to another room. Anyway, according to Miss Shen's initial statement, she climbed into the bed herself. You should have said that earlier. Otherwise, I would have admitted it long ago. Why do I have to pin it on Yilin just because I picked up his jade pendant? You want an explanation, right? Fine, I will ask someone to bring it to Prince Kang's residence later. Since Prince Kang had said so, no one could do anything to him. He was a prince, the son of an emperor. He could have a romantic night. So what if she was a minister's daughter? It was already good enough that he didn't despise her for being a loose woman and was willing to accept her into his residence. Therefore, this matter could only be left unsettled. It was said that this kind of thing was the most difficult to explain. It was just empty words. You could insist on it, but the other party could also insist on denying it. In the end, on the surface, the Shen family probably suffered the biggest loss. Not only did they not get any benefits from Duke Dinggua's residence, but their reputation was also ruined. Not only were the married ladies affected by their in-laws, but the most miserable ones were the girls of marriageable age. Those who were engaged, those who were rejected, those who were in discussions, those who were lost, those who were waiting to be married. In short, they would not have a good marriage. Probably only those who were a few years old were not affected too much. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653074. HTML. Please click here to report. No registration required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book: www.bicken.com. Bicken. Com mobile version reading website. Bicken.com. Chapter 138. Sun Yilin and Jing Wan suddenly broke off the engagement. To be honest, many people felt that it was inconceivable. Even if the Shen family's young lady had caused a ruckus in the Luo family, wasn't this a misunderstanding? Breaking off the engagement in such a hurry, perhaps she was regretting it to death now. However, didn't this also mean that the Luo family's third young lady was an extremely petty person? No results were out yet. Such a jealous person, which mother-in-law would like her? At the same time, speaking of which, this Luo family's third young lady is not only jealous, but also suspected of bringing misfortune to her husband. Her previous two fiancés, the engagement was so short, I'm afraid no one can compare to her. To be honest, some time ago, Jingwan's limelight was too great, suppressing more than half of the capital's noble young ladies too miserably. Moreover, there were too many people who admired Sun Yilin, but in the end, she, who didn't have a high status, took advantage of it. It could be said that new enmity added to old hatred. Now that this engagement was broken off, naturally people were rejoicing in other people's misfortune. In addition, there were various kinds of conjectures. Once these conjectures were spoken out, coupled with the echo of the crowd and a little bit of intentional people adding fuel to the fire, it naturally formed a wave of rumors and slanders. As for those who knew the real reason for breaking off the engagement, for some unknown reason, they didn't come out to help Jing Wan say a word. Instead, it was Yuan Chao Chao and Zhou Yingshuang who were unbearably angry, but other than retorting a few words, Jing Wan is not that kind of person, there was no other way. Originally, according to Jing Wan's special status, even if the second engagement was broken off, it would be just right for some people to be satisfied and should be restored to the sweet cake status. But when these rumors came out, they had to consider carefully. Hence, Sun Yilin didn't put himself in the teeth of the storm, but caused Jing Wan to fall into a not small predicament. Sun Yilin was somewhat regretful. Indeed, he shouldn't have broken off the engagement so quickly. He wanted to help, but how could he help? They had nothing to do with each other anymore. He had no right to get involved. Moreover, maybe because of him, things became more serious. Her mother kept saying that Jing Wan was a vixen. It was hard to guarantee that others would not think so. That would be very bad for Jing Wan's reputation. Therefore, she could only remain silent while being anxious. And it was under such circumstances that Sun Yilin and Chen Zhengmin inadvertently met. After not seeing each other for a while, Chen Zhengmin seemed to have become more mature. At this time, when they looked at each other, there was probably some indescribable complexity in their eyes. After all, they were once rivals in love. Also, there was probably some appreciation for each other. After all, they were both in the same boat. They all wanted to treat each other to a drink. Instead of going to a tavern, he got someone to buy some wine and found a quiet place. They didn't say anything. First, they each drank 3 glasses of wine. Then, they were somewhat speechless. Once, when Jingwan and Chen Zhengmin were engaged, Sun Yilin felt that he was tripped up by other things and missed the opportunity. God gave him a chance, but unfortunately, he didn't hold on to it. When Chen Zhengmin learned that Sun Yilin also liked Jingwan, he also said that he wouldn't give him a chance. As a result, he was slapped in the face. After a few more glasses of wine, Chen Zhengmin finally took the lead to speak. Why did you and cousin Wan break off the engagement? If it was said that it was like the rumors outside, he absolutely wouldn't believe it. Not to mention his cousin, his grandaunt and granduncle were both extremely wise and strict people. How could they not distinguish between right and wrong and jump to conclusions without asking whether it was right or wrong? Sun Yilin held the wine glass in silence. Because of my mother. Chen Zhengmin's mouth twitched sarcastically. When he thought of his grandfather, he didn't seem to have the right to laugh at him. Although his engagement with cousin Wan was broken off, it had nothing to do with his grandfather. As the saying goes, every family has its own difficulties. If nothing happened here, there would be a fire somewhere else. However, he might be a little better than Sun Yilin. After all, he basically had the final say in their family now and there weren't so many restrictions. The two of them talked about this and that, and somehow, they talked about Li Ruyu. Although it wasn't known to everyone, those who should know basically knew that Commandery Prince Cheng's demotion and Li Ruyu's seizure of the title were not small matters. It was just that there was no news of her marriage with Chen Zhengmin until now. Are you going to drag it out like this? Why? Do you feel bad? Well, she schemed against me because of you. Sun Yilin frowned. Pretend I didn't ask. There were too many things happening recently and he hadn't seen his aunt for a while. He had no feelings for Li Ruyu, but he still had some feelings for his aunt. After all, his aunt had been good to him since he was young. He didn't care whether Li Ruyu was dead or alive. He just pitied all the parents in the world. However, when he thought of his mother, Sun Yilin poured another glass of wine. However, they were all people who had suffered losses before. Even if they were disappointed, they still restrained themselves and didn't get drunk. In the Luo family, Sun Yijia was the one who appeared to be most concerned about the rumors outside. She always felt guilty towards Jingwan, but when she saw that Jingwan didn't seem to care, she restrained herself a little. Whenever something happened, Jingwan would comfort her again and again. Instead, she caused trouble for Sister Wan. Sister-in-law, it's not convenient for me to go out these days. Let my third brother take you out for a walk. Jingwan suggested. Speaking of which, her third sister-in-law was much more depressed than her. It was not a good thing to go out for a walk to relieve her depression. She didn't go out not because she was afraid of being pointed at, but because she didn't want to hear those words. It was really annoying. As for Wan Fengfei's invitation, she wasn't someone who would refuse such an invitation. It just so happened that Jingwan didn't really want to interact with her. I don't want to go out. Besides, your third brother is busy. One day won't make a difference. Jingwan looked at Sun Yijia's silent face. Sister-in-law, do you care that people are pointing at my third brother because of your face? Sun Yijia didn't care about her disfigurement, but she cared that Luo Jingbua was embarrassed because of her. Jingwan suddenly smiled. Sister-in-law, let me help you with your makeup. Sun Yijia was puzzled. Why did she want to help her with her makeup all of a sudden? However, it was said that Sister Wan was the one who did Sister Hei's first makeup. It looked very beautiful and had a different style. She was a little interested and curious about what kind of makeup Sister Wan was going to do for her. Jing Wan didn't pull Sun Yijia back to the bedroom. Instead, she went to the study. To be more precise, she went to the painting room that was separated from the study for convenience. Then she asked the maid to get the makeup box. Jing Wan looked at Sun Yijia's face and thought for a while. Then she picked out a few kinds of paints from the many kinds of paints she had. Anyone could tell what Jing Wan was going to do. Wan, are you going to paint my face? I haven't tried it before. It's a good opportunity to practice on your face. Jing Wan smiled, and there was obviously a little mischievous look on her face. She didn't look reliable at all. Don't worry, sister-in-law. The paints I picked are harmless. I promise that they won't damage your skin. Besides, even if they don't look good, you can just wash them off. Sun Yijia wasn't worried at all. Instead, Jing Wan was laughing so hard that it made her hair stand on end. Then she raised her head and closed her eyes. Jing Wan drew a plum blossom branch along the scar on Sun Yijia's face, from the bottom of the scar to the middle of her neck. Because it was the first time she painted on her face, it took a lot of time. However, the result was quite good. Not to mention the servants, even Sun Yijia couldn't believe her own eyes when she looked at herself in the glass mirror. The scars were basically covered by the flower branches, and they followed the lines. The treatment was very good. She didn't need to touch it with her hands. Just by looking at it, she couldn't see the scars at all. Not only that, it looked very beautiful. Jing Wan held Sun Yijia's chin and looked at her whole face. Then, she drew a few flying petals on the other side of her face. Perfect! Sun Yijia was overjoyed. However, the happiest people were her servants after this. In their eyes, Lin Mingya was going to wear a veil for the rest of her life. They didn't expect that she would be so beautiful one day. She was even more beautiful than before she got married. Alright, let's go back and take third elder brother out for a walk. It's his business to paint in the future. Sun Yijia didn't want to be teased by Jing Wan. However, Jing Wan forced her to leave. The begonia house regained its tranquility, and Jing Wan began to find something to do. Granny Gong knew that Jing Wan wasn't affected. However, she felt that Jing Wan seemed to be planning something. However, she didn't show any signs for the time being. Therefore, she didn't know what she was going to do. Luo Jingbua was surprised when he saw Sun Yijia's makeup. However, he didn't look infatuated with her because she had become a great beauty again. It was obvious that Luo Jingbua didn't care much about her appearance. Did you do it? Sun Yijia nodded with a smile. I will do it for you in the future. Luo Jingbua said without hesitation. It was obvious that this blockhead had learned a lot after he got married. Some of his skills were slowly being perfected. You seem to be unhappy these days. Let's go out for a walk today. I don't think you will refuse. It's a good opportunity for this husband to go out and show off, and let them see how beautiful this young master's wife is. Sun Yijia was stunned. Okay. It turned out that he wanted to take her out but was worried that she would be unwilling. In fact, he was as gentle and considerate as Sister Wan. As for showing off, he had the ability to do so. There was no need for him to show off. Sun Yijia went to report to old Madame Luo. Naturally, there was no reason for her to refuse such a thing. Then, she went to inform Madame Zhang. There was no problem. This was the first time the husband and wife went shopping together after they got married. They didn't have a destination. They just let the coachman drive the carriage slowly. They lifted the curtains and sat together. They looked out the window and whispered to each other. Their eyes were filled with happiness. If an outsider inadvertently saw them, they would think that they were a loving couple. When they arrived at a bustling street, the two alighted from the carriage. Luo Jingbua naturally helped her down. After that, even if there were servants following behind them, they wouldn't easily get too close. Luo Jingbua still protected Sun Yijia from time to time. Therefore, the two's posture was particularly intimate. Sun Yijia was a little embarrassed, but more than that, she felt sweet. Luo Jingbua accompanied her as they strolled leisurely. When he realized that Sun Yijia didn't know many things, he acted as an omniscient and omnipotent commentator. Sun Yijia was born in a noble family. She didn't have much contact with commoner things. In addition, she didn't have many friends. As for the clothes and jewelry that girls loved, they were often sent directly to the residence. Therefore, she rarely went out shopping. She was also not interested in this activity. To put it bluntly, Sun Yijia was actually a homebody. However, her state of mind was different now. She felt that it was very interesting and she was very happy. When they passed by a small stall selling masks, she reached out and took a mask and put it on Luo Jingbua's face. There weren't many young couples who were together, but there were definitely a lot of them. At a glance, there wasn't a second couple who were as intimate as the two of them. In addition, Sun Yijia's special makeup attracted a lot of attention. "Mother, look. Isn't that cousin?" A mother and daughter who had just come out of the jewelry shop said to the woman beside her. The woman looked in the direction she was pointing and was silent for a moment. "It's her. Oh, I've never seen her smile so happily before. Could it be that Duke Dinggua's residence mistreated her? Probably she's not used to living in luxury and prefers plain porridge and side dishes." The young girl smiled in confusion. "Mother, we meet on the street. We should at least say hello." She pulled the middle-aged woman over. "Cousin." Hearing the familiar voice, Sun Yijia subconsciously turned her head to look. The smile on her face subconsciously disappeared. "Aunt. Cousin." Previously, she saw Sun Yijia's side profile. Now that she saw her face, there wasn't a hideous and terrifying scar like she had expected. Instead, there was a branch of plum blossoms that was somewhat charming and enchanting. However, because of her cold temperament, the combination of enchanting and cold temperament weakened each other, making her appear more bright and moving. Her smile couldn't help but stiffen. She thought that she had ruined her biggest asset, but she actually made up for it in another way, and it was even more perfect. The sense of superiority that she had maintained for a while was eaten away by jealousy all of a sudden. Luo Jingbua followed Sun Yijia and bowed. He was neither close nor distant. Both mother and daughter's gazes fell on him. Luo Jingbua was handsome. He might be a little casual usually, but when it was time to be serious, he would naturally be serious. His bearing and self-restraint were not bad. In addition, with the halo of the future world's teacher, his attractiveness was not inferior to Sun Yilan's at all. Not knowing what to think, a certain young girl looked at Luo Jingbua and gradually blushed. She unconsciously became a little shy. How could Sun Yijia not know how attractive Luo Jingbua was now? However, she didn't show any displeasure. She believed what he said. Since that was the case, it was useless no matter how much she coveted him. She could see him, but she couldn't touch him, let alone have him. Sun Yijia chatted with the two of them. The mother and daughter had no intention of leaving. In the past, when they met, they would not be able to say more than 3 sentences before parting ways. It was fine if this cousin of hers had some thoughts, but aunt actually also. Luo Jingbua stood quietly beside Sun Yijia. He didn't have any intention of leaving first. His eyes were slightly lowered, and he scrupulously adhered to the gentleman's etiquette. He didn't look at the girl in front of him. In that girl's eyes, his gaze fell on Sun Yijia's side profile. No matter how beautiful it was still painted. She didn't believe that in private, he could still stand Sun Yijia's face. The smile on her face became more and more flirtatious. "Cousin-in-law, I especially like fine brushwork. Can I find a private place and ask for a painting from you?" Luo Jingbua finally looked at her, but his gaze was rather strange. There are differences between men and women. With one sentence, the other party's smile froze on her face. Sun Yijia almost laughed out loud. He was really not polite and not tactful at all. He and Sister Wan were indeed brother and sister. "Jingbua, you misunderstood. This girl's grandfather likes her." "Oh." Luo Jingbua responded indifferently. The middle-aged woman was very angry, but she couldn't say anything. "I heard that aunt is sick, but I haven't had the chance to visit her personally. How is aunt?" Sun Yijia was startled. She didn't know about this. Ding General Manor didn't even send anyone to send her a letter. When she looked at Sun Yijiao again, there was a different meaning in her eyes. Then, she carefully looked at Luo Jinghua. Cousin, could it be that you didn't go back to see her? You were so happy just now, so I thought Aunt was fine. This kind of low-level provocation was nothing to Luo Jinghua. Yijiao is very anxious, so I brought her out for a walk. No matter what she was anxious about, I won't disturb Aunt and Cousin anymore. He reached out and gently pulled Sun Yijiao to the side. Didn't you just say that you wanted to buy something back? Yes. Sun Yijiao responded. The two of them talked softly as they walked further and further away. Sun Yijiao's people directly gave the mother and daughter a disdainful look. This matter should be your fifth brother's consideration. Don't take it to heart. I think it's not very serious. But since I know, I'll accompany you back to take a look tomorrow. You just need to remember that you are now a member of the Luo family. Thank you, Jinghua. You and I are husband and wife. Our abilities are as one. There's no need to thank me. Although this episode had happened, it didn't affect them much. The two of them continued to walk around. Luo Jinghua accompanied her patiently at the clothes and jewelry shop, the rouge shop, and other places. He wasn't impatient at all. When she asked him, he also patiently gave his opinion. Although there might be differences in taste, it didn't matter. When the two of them returned to the Luo family, they heard that 4 matchmakers had come to propose marriage to Jingwan. They thought that the situation had taken a turn for the better. However, after learning about the situation of the 4 matchmakers, the couple trembled with anger. One of them was a bastard, one was an idiot, one was a bankrupt, and one even shamelessly said that he wanted to take Jingwan as his concubine. What he said was quite good, but the meaning behind his words was that with the current reputation of the third daughter of the Luo family, it was already good enough that someone was willing to marry her. Moreover, she would bring bad luck to her husband. Even if he took her as his concubine, it would be dangerous. Madame Luo sent people to kick them out. That was really big. Who is it? Who is so vicious to want to destroy Sister Wan? Sun Yijiao said hatefully. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653075. HTML. Please click here to report an error. Registration is not required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book: www.bicken.com. Biku Gu mobile reading website, bicken.com. Chapter 139. For the time being, no one knew if someone was behind Jingwan's marriage. However, there was one thing that made things difficult for some people, and that was the Minister of Personnel, Luo Peishan, started to flip out. Relying on the various unknown things obtained from Li Hongyuan, he defeated the important officials in the Ministry of Personnel one by one. It was fine if they did not cooperate with him. He directly sent a memorial to Lu Chengdi to deal with them. 2 or 3 of the important officials in the Ministry of Personnel were removed from their positions. As for the subordinates, he directly fired a group of them. No matter who they were, no matter what their background was, he was ruthless and merciless. In short, he had reason and evidence for his actions. It was also at this time that everyone realized that they had underestimated this Lord Luo from afar. Some people wanted to rope him in even when they were in a bad mood. However, at this time, Lord Luo seemed to be a little stubborn. He seemed to have the intention to be more neutral than before. Compared to Yuan Ruiz Hong, who was smooth and slick in dealing with people, he did not give face to anyone and completely offended them. However, although they hated him to the core, many people were very grateful to him. This was because he did not shy away from recommending people of talent. After careful review from many parties, he was willing to recommend those who were truly capable to Lu Chengdi, regardless of which faction they belonged to. It must be said that the emperor liked such officials the most. Lu Qingdi was no exception. Therefore, with a wave of his hand, many of the people recommended by Luo Peishan were transferred to positions more suitable for them. Although the proportion of direct promotion was not very high, they could naturally perform better in their areas of expertise. This obviously meant that they would have better opportunities. However, was Luo Peishan really not selfish at all? Haha, how was that possible? In fact, although the positions of the transferred people did not seem to be high, all of them were below level 4, and they were not limited to the capital, but the prefectures and manors of the Qi Yuan dynasty. However, in fact, half of these people were arranged by Li Hongyuan. Although the positions assigned to them were not high, they were very important. As long as they were given 3 to 5 years, they would be further promoted and could even choke the throats of the various regions. In addition, after careful investigation, none of the toads who went to the Luo family to propose marriage were allowed to have a place for their close relatives. Some of them had problems and were directly stepped down by Luo Peishan without mercy. All 4 families had a share. No one was left out. In fact, few people in the officialdom were stupid. After sorting out the relationships among them, they would find some clues. Oh, very good. Lord Luo cared about his family and loved his granddaughter. He would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. The 4 families regretted it very much. Even their close relatives and friends resented it. Especially Naxi Huai, who was not talented enough, had been wasting his time in his original position. When he saw the opportunity, he was full of enthusiasm and was ready to do something big after being transferred or promoted. However, after waiting for a long time, he did not even have his name on the list submitted by Luo Shongshu to the emperor. The reason was that a family member had humiliated his granddaughter. You couldn't even reason with him about this kind of thing. Because Luo Peishan's move was too ruthless and the effect was too obvious, some people began to be tempted again. However, they did not act immediately. Because in this big change of officials, almost no one close to the Luo family was involved, not even a son or son-in-law. It was unknown whether it was because he wanted to avoid relatives, or whether he thought that his son or son-in-law did not have the ability or did not need to be changed for the time being. At this time, they had to consider carefully. If they really wanted to use marriage to climb up the Luo family, then they had to show enough sincerity. And the children and grandchildren used for marriage must also be good enough. If they dared to come up with a marriage proposal, then they would really hate you to death and might even secretly trample you to death. They realized that the status of the Luo family's grandchildren might not be measured by their father's generation. As long as Luo Peishan stayed in his current position, even if it was only for a few years, as long as he supported them, they would be greatly improved. Especially when there was a rumor that Luo Peishan valued his grandchildren and doted on the 3rd young lady the most, the importance of the 3rd generation of the Luo family immediately rose by a lot. Their value was compared to that of Luo Peishan's children. As long as they were 10 years old and had no marriage contract, each and every one of them became a delicious cake. At the beginning of Luo Peishan's promotion, the awkward situation of being in an awkward position, being pushed aside by all parties, and faintly being a mere figurehead, was smashed to pieces. At the beginning, there were few visitors, but in a short period of time, there was an endless stream of visitors. Every day, there were people coming to greet and send off. As the daughter-in-law, the 4th sister-in-law could not accept any of them. At this time, Madame Luo also pulled Sun Yijia, her granddaughter-in-law, out. Now that these people were trying to curry favor and flatter the Luo family, it was not difficult for Sun Yijia to entertain them. The other young ladies of similar age were also pulled out one by one. However, outside of the restricted Luo Jingying, Jingwan still did not show up. The women were busy, but the men and young masters were not idle either. Every day, there were people trying to curry favor with them. However, even so, no one was stupid enough to directly ask a matchmaker to propose marriage. In fact, regarding the marriage of the grandchildren, other than Jingwan's, Madame Luo did not want to interfere with any of them. Jingwan seemed to be the one with the most difficult marriage, but in fact, she had already been settled. This was because Madame Luo was always indifferent about the marriage of the grandchildren. Whenever it was mentioned, she would directly throw it to their respective parents. She did not care. Third young lady? Yu Lao probably hasn't match-made her yet. This meant that she was not going to mention Jingwan's marriage for the time being. No matter who wanted to marry Jingwan, Madame Luo's attitude was always like this. Everyone sighed silently in their hearts. It seemed that this most beloved young lady of the Luo family could forget about it. As for Jingwan's bad reputation, many people were still aware of the tricks behind it. Although Luo Jingying was the legitimate daughter of Lord Luo's concubine-born son, he had been able to teach the son of a concubine-born son. In addition, he valued the granddaughters of his concubine-born son so much, so he probably treated his granddaughter well. Moreover, many of them knew that Luo Jingying was good-looking, talented, and perhaps a little vain, but that was not a big problem. Therefore, this fourth young lady of the Luo family, who was only a day younger than Jingwan, was also on the minds of many people. After all, if she was slightly older, she would be able to marry into the family in at most 1 or 2 years. If she dragged on for a few more years, who knew what Luo Peishan would do? However, after several contacts with Madame Lu, basically no one mentioned her anymore. She was a person with a loftier heart than the sky. It had to be said that the Lu matriarch was not feeling well either. In fact, given the current situation, it would have been a good choice for Luo Jingying to marry into a better family. The Lu matriarch's heart was delusional, but she still had reason and lived in reality. However, the prerequisite was that her daughter was still a virgin. Unfortunately, as such, she could only remain aloof until the end. She would be ridiculed openly and covertly, saying things like, "Be careful that your heart is higher than the sky but your life is thinner than paper." She could only listen and endure, waiting to see if Prince Rue would make a move. Regarding this matter, Luo Rongping had actually looked for Li Hongming and hinted that he already knew that Prince Rue had taken his daughter's virginity. He hoped that he could come up with a plan. However, Li Hongming was a person who would not act until he saw the hair. In any case, Luo Jingying was already his person. Luo Rongping, this chess piece, could not escape even if he wanted to. For the time being, he sat firmly on the fishing platform. If Luo Rongping did not show some sincerity, he would make a move. To put it bluntly, he was forcing Luo Rongping to hand over a proof of his allegiance. Because Li Hongming worked in the Ministry of Appointments, he was the one who had the deepest understanding of Luo Peishan's actions among his brothers. He had spent so much time in the Ministry of Appointments, but he was still far from Luo Peishan's achievements in such a short period of time. He did not know how Luo Peishan did it, but one thing was for sure: he was very frustrated. At the same time, he wanted to win over Luo Peishan even more. However, the proof of his allegiance that Li Hongming wanted soon appeared. After all, Luo Peishan's sudden rise made the calm empress somewhat unable to sit still. It was completely out of her control. At this time, she hated her sister-in-law even more. She was unable to accomplish anything, but was good at spoiling things. She had offended the Luo family so much. Fortunately, Sun Yijia was not implicated in the Luo family's anger. Instead, she summoned Prince Kong to properly teach her a lesson. At this time, Prince Kong naturally understood the seriousness of the matter. He calmed down the anger in his heart and did his best to put down his pride. He looked for Sun Yilin and tried to win over Luo Jinghua. He also knew that Luo Peishan's third son had always been loyal to him. This way, he could give him some benefits. At the same time, the Empress summoned Sun Yijia to the palace on the pretext that she had not seen Sun Yijia for a long time. Sun Yijia did not enter the palace to see the Empress. After her disfigurement, the Empress had actually summoned her once. When she saw her current makeup, she was surprised and pleased. In fact, Sun Yijia knew very well why the Empress wanted to see her. Therefore, she only said that the makeup was done by Luo Jinghua and did not say anything else. The Empress praised Luo Jinghua and then changed the topic to Jingwan. When Sun Yijia was about to leave, the Empress said that she wanted to see Jingwan. Sun Yijia was not stupid. She faintly felt that the Empress's aunt seemed to want Prince Kong to marry Jingwan. When she left the palace, she could not help but clench her fists. Her eyes were full of gloominess. It was easy to refuse other people, but was it easy to refuse the Empress? She now hoped that Prince Rue and the others could delay the Empress's idea. Sun Yijia did not know that the Empress's idea was just to bring up the past. After returning to the Luo family, Sun Yijia immediately went to find old Madame Luo. She repeated to old Madame Luo what the Empress said to her and told her about her guess. "You're a good child. Live well with Jinghua. Don't think too much about other things." Old Madame Luo was giving Sun Yijia real reassurance. Sun Yijia only felt bitterness in her heart. "Thank you, grandmother." Old Madame Luo smiled and did not say anything about it. "Since the Empress wants to see Wan Wan, you can bring her to the palace tomorrow. Do what you need to do. We will handle the rest." Jing Wan appeared to be quite indifferent about going to the palace to see the Empress. Sun Yijia really admired her attitude. Other than her, she had not seen it in anyone else of the same age. After a while, however, she asked, "Sister Wan, what have you been doing recently? Why do I feel that you have been so mysterious these days?" "I didn't do anything." Jing Wan smiled innocently. It would be strange if Sun Yijia believed her. When the Empress saw Jing Wan, she did not say anything. She just amiably expressed her love for Jing Wan. She was just short of pulling Jing Wan and calling her daughter-in-law. Sun Yijia lowered her eyes and listened attentively. Once again, she admired Jing Wan for being able to deal with the Empress with a sweet smile at this time. She did not make any mistakes. She was even the butt of gossip in the tribe. At this moment, she suddenly realized that it was a happy and lucky thing to have Sister Wan's poisonous mouth. It turned out that if Sister Wan really wanted to deal with someone, she could also do a very good job. The Empress did not keep Jing Wan for too long. Before she left, she rewarded Jing Wan with a lot of good things. Of course, as her niece, Sun Yijia did not leave her behind. Jing Wan accepted it very calmly and did not even refuse. As soon as she left Kunyi Palace, she immediately met people from Jade Essence Palace. Noble consort Su invited her. Sun Yijia saw Jingwan's natural expression and thought of what Madame Luo said yesterday. Everything was probably within her expectations. Although noble consort Su did not have a son to marry, her attitude towards Jingwan was very good. She treated Jingwan as if she was the younger generation of her maternal family. She was especially intimate and did not leave Sun Yijia behind. Sun Yijia had known for a long time that noble consort Su was very good at dealing with people. Today was another confirmation. However, other than these, noble consort Su also talked to Jingwan about skin care. She praised Jingwan's tender skin and did not hide her envy. She also mentioned the secret skincare recipe and wondered when she would be able to get it. On this point, noble consort Su was very straightforward and did not beat around the bush. Rouge Pavilion has already produced the finished product. It should be sent to the palace soon, Jingwan said truthfully. Are you serious? That's really great. Noble consort Su could be said to be harmless to the extreme. Ordinary girls would easily have a good impression of her. Unfortunately, Jingwan was never an ordinary girl. Noble consort Su also gave her a reward. Moreover, it was not too much and not too little. It was probably just a little better than the Empress's. The two sisters-in-law looked at each other. If someone said that noble consort Su did not know what the Empress had given her, they would not believe it even if they were beaten to death. However, the reward for the two of them was personally brought by the Empress's aunt. After receiving it, it was tightly placed in a box. Noble consort Su clearly knew what it was in the blink of an eye. This harem was really not a good place. Any small matter was full of competition, and there was also the ubiquitous surveillance. Originally, they thought that they should be able to leave the palace, but in the end, they were greeted by people from Sweet Dew Palace. Jingwan expressed her surprise. Noble consort Qin had always been very low-key. Why would she get involved today? However, since she was invited, she would just go. When noble consort Su heard that the two of them went to Sweet Dew Palace, she did not say anything. She was still thinking about Jingwan's words and actions. She's really not a simple girl. Originally, to be able to make noble consort Su, who was the most favored in the harem, express envy, she should at least be a little smug. However, from the beginning to the end, she was very calm. Noble consort Qin did not appear to be so intimate. However, in Jingwan's view, she was the easiest to get along with among the three of them. There was a faint sense of peace. However, in this harem, to be able to occupy a place in the harem without a son and to have an unshakable position, naturally, she was not harmless. However, Jingwan felt that noble consort Qin's eyes did not seem to be trying to win her over. It was more like she was sizing her up with some deep meaning. After that, she seemed to feel that it was not bad. It felt a little strange. Jingwan could not figure out the reason for noble consort Qin's reaction at all. However, since she could not figure it out, she did not think about it. The reward that noble consort Qin gave in the end was only slightly inferior to the Empress's. Did this mean that the Kunyi Palace was like a sieve, full of loopholes? No, it could not be. The Empress was not that stupid. Either she deliberately revealed it, or she deliberately kept the spies in the other harem. Jingwan felt that the latter was more likely. After all, as long as she was aware of other people's spies, it did not matter if they revealed some insignificant things. At the critical moment, they might play an unexpected role. However, after the two of them left, noble consort Qin murmured something that no one heard. Good taste. When the palace servants led them out of the palace, Jingwan and the rest met someone. Sun Yijia was stunned and did not know how to react for a moment. However, Jingwan did not avoid it and squatted down. Sun Yilin returned the greeting from afar and then fixed his gaze on Jingwan. He did not have any intention to go forward. He only heard that she was summoned into the palace by his aunt. Outside the palace, he could not see her at all. However, he wanted to know if she was well, if she was disturbed by the recent rumors. Therefore, he found an excuse to come out. And now, she seemed to be doing well, so he was relieved. Ignoring the waves of pain in his heart, Sun Yilin turned and left. Sun Yijia saw her closest brother like this and was especially distressed. However, there were some things that could not be helped. She hoped that fifth brother would be able to walk out of this emotional wound as soon as possible. She naturally did not know that Sun Yilin had already told their mother that he would never marry for life. Just as Sun Yilin left, Jin Qin Wang Li Hongyuan was welcomed. Li Hongyuan's gaze retracted from Sun Yilin's departing figure and looked at Jingwan and the rest. Or rather, he looked at Jingwan. His gaze was heavy and somewhat sinister. Greetings to Wang Ye. After several breaths, they heard the two words, dispense with the formalities. Sun Yijia's heartbeat was somewhat fast. Because of the gaze that Li Hongyuan looked at Sun Yilin, she felt that her brother was being stared at by a wild beast. However, what reason did Jin Qin Wang have to stare at her brother? Could it be that Jin Qin Wang really took a fancy to her brother? It shouldn't be, right? But if that was the case, that gaze was a bit too fierce. Other than that, she could not think of any other reason. Jingwan and the rest brushed past Li Hongyuan. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653076. HTML chapter error. Click here to report, registration free. We will handle it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com. Bicken. Com Mobile Edition Reading Website. Bicken.com. Chapter 140. Due to Luo Peishan's special protection, the rumors about Jingwan had temporarily subsided. However, it was only temporary. It was merely the calm before the storm. Unless Jingwan's marriage could be resolved perfectly and all parties had nothing to say, the crisis attached to Jingwan would not be resolved. At the same time, Luo Rongping was finally valued by Prince Kong. For Luo Rongping, it was not too late. The so-called not too late meant that he had already taken refuge with Prince Rue. No matter how much he valued him now, it would not be of much use. The so-called "not too late" meant that he had taken refuge with Prince Rue in order to become a spy in Prince Kang's faction. Even if he was a spy, he would not be of much use if he was not in an important position and could not reach the core. If he wanted to prove his loyalty, the opportunity would come. The first time he was summoned by Prince Kong, he received unprecedented treatment. It really made Luo Rongbing feel fear and trepidation. Fortunately, he was not muddle-headed and knew that there was no way he could get rid of Prince Rue now. Prince Kong asked Sun Yilin to make an appointment with Luo Jingbua. Sun Yilin agreed, and so did Luo Jingbua. Originally, when Sun Yilin also made an appointment with Luo Jingbua, he told him that no matter what Prince Kong said, there was only one purpose: to make a joke. In short, he could not agree to anything, and he could not be the subject of ridicule. To be honest, when he heard Sun Yilin's words, Luo Jingbua was actually quite surprised. Even if he married Yi Jia, the nature of his marriage with Yi Jia was not that strong due to the standpoint of Duke Dinggua's mansion. Sun Yilin did not explain much. It was true that he was a member of Ding General Manor, but he had always avoided Sun Yibin in the past. Even if he was greatly favored by the emperor, he had never participated in political affairs. Later, he completely fell out with Sun Yibin and entered the imperial court as an official. He still hardly participated in factional disputes. There were many things that he did not understand and did not want to understand. However, after Luo Jingbua met with Prince Kong, Sun Yilin realized that his worries were all unnecessary. It was true that his brother-in-law was candid and casual, but he was not without scheming and did not understand the ways of the world. Anyway, Sun Yilin was just a guest. After listening for a while, he could not help but sigh. He was indeed taught by Luo Shongshu. It seemed that Prince Kong was the one who dominated the conversation, but in fact, it was Luo Jingbua who led the other party by the nose, but Li Hongyi was not aware of it. Luo Jingbua's straightforwardness depended on who he was dealing with. In fact, Luo Jingbua did it more obviously. If it was another person, how could he not find the clue? Therefore, Prince Kang's IQ was a shortcoming. Perhaps his IQ was at the level of ordinary people, but the people he came into contact with were all smart, which made him appear a little stupid. When Sun Yilin was about to leave, he did not expect that Prince Kong would ask someone to bring the courtesan of the brothel to accompany him. Naturally, his face was a little dark. However, although Li Hongyi was his cousin, he did not allow him to interfere. However, the situation that followed was really unexpected to him. Because when the beautiful courtesan approached, she wanted to snuggle into Luo Jingbua's arms. Unexpectedly, Luo Jingbua sneezed several times. "What's the smell on your body? Why is it so pungent?" The courtesan looked confused, and then she was very helpless. Tears gathered in her eyes. Prince Kang's face was dark. He waved his hand to let the courtesan get out. "This commoner has been rude. Prince, please forgive me." He could not help rubbing his nose. "It has nothing to do with you." In this way, in the end, it seemed that they talked a lot, but there was no substantive content at all. And the courtesan that Prince Kong was going to send was returned before she could get close. Luo Jingbua and Sun Yilin left hand in hand. Sun Yilin saw that Luo Jingbua was refreshed and did not feel bad at all. His eyes became more and more strange. "Brother-in-law, you did it on purpose, didn't you?" Luo Jingbua smiled at Sun Yilin, the kind that was particularly harmless. "Brother-in-law, what do you mean?" Well, there was no need to ask. Sun Yilin had already determined that he did it on purpose. He pretended so well that even he was deceived. You can't judge a book by its cover. Sun Yilin once again deeply understood the meaning of this word. Luo Jingbua still pretended to be stupid and smiled. Sun Yilin did not ask more. It was good that his brother-in-law had such a heart. He was now more attractive than him. After returning to the Luo family, Luo Jingbua went directly to see his baby sister. Although he knew that she did not take the things outside to heart, he could not help but worry about her sometimes. However, it seemed that she was fiddling with something. After asking, he did not get any answer. That day, after Luo Peishan went to the yamen, Jingwan brought something to him. Jingwan often went in and out of the outer study, so everyone had become accustomed to it. "Little girl, are you looking for grandfather for something?" Luo Peishan looked at the thing in Jingwan's hand. Jingwan did not say anything. She just handed the thing to Luo Peishan. Luo Peishan first fiddled with the long cylindrical thing. He was somewhat confused, so his eyes fell on the two pieces of paper. One of them was an unusually fine drawing. This thing, clairvoyance? Jingwan turned around the desk, walked to Luo Peishan's side, and told him how to use it. In Luo Peishan's eyes, the farthest leaves outside the door of the study suddenly seemed to be in front of him. Luo Peishan was amazed. Clairvoyance, clairvoyance. Although the name sounded exaggerated, it could see very far. Jingwan did not disturb Luo Peishan and let him fiddle with it. The lens in the telescope was made of the most transparent white crystal. The effect was still inferior to glass. However, Jingwan was very satisfied with the final result. Luo Peishan finally saw enough. However, after all, he had so much experience and knowledge. Besides feeling that it was very rare, he could not find any other use for it. Wan, although this thing is exquisite, but how about marching to war? If the enemy does not see it, I will see it. Luo Peishan's eyes suddenly lit up. It's really wonderful. Although Luo Peishan had not been on the battlefield, he could imagine the situation. How could this be a cheap toy? It was clearly a treasure with great use. Luo Peishan looked at the blueprint again. He could more or less understand it. As for the specifics, he directly handed it to the Ministry of Works Military Weapons Bureau. There was a finished product, and the blueprint was very detailed. If they still could not understand it, the entire Bureau of Military Weapons could go home and hug their children. Luo Peishan looked at it again and again. Finally, he put down the blueprint and picked up another piece of paper. It was also a blueprint. On it was a crossbow. It was different from the commonly used crossbows, but it was an improved continuous shooting crossbow. Because there was no finished product, Luo Peishan could not see whether this crossbow was good or bad. However, based on the fact that it could shoot continuously, once it was successfully forged, it would definitely be more powerful than the current crossbow. Luo Peishan solemnly put away the things properly. "Third girl, what do you want to ask for by bringing this thing here?" It was very obvious that this was to be presented to the emperor. It was an unusual time. Luo Peishan knew that she should have her own plans. "Grandfather, do you think that it is possible to ask for the position of Jin Qinhuang's Di Fei?" Luo Peishan looked at Jingwan's expression change again. There was an indescribable light in his eyes, and he spoke in an extremely calm or indifferent tone. "Third girl, do you know what you are saying?" Jingwan pursed her lips. "Grandfather, I am very clear about what I am saying. People like Jin Qinhuang, others can't wait to avoid him. For me to approach him now, it is indeed very unwise. It may even make people think that I am stupid. But in the current situation, Jin Qinhuang is the best candidate. If I become his fiancée, the dilemma will be easily solved." Jingwan was very clear. Don't look at how awe-inspiring her grandfather was now. He was still within the tolerance range of some people, thinking that there was still a possibility that he could be used. If he continued to be unyielding, then no one would tolerate him to continue sitting in his current position. The position of Minister of the Ministry of Personnel was really too important. No one could tolerate him alone. Moreover, at the beginning of his tenure, the current situation was very unusual. This position itself was unstable. If other people wanted to pull him down, third Uncle Luo romping himself would not be content. Therefore, they could always find some reason to attack Luo Peishan, and then create some out of nothing. Luo Peishan's final outcome could be imagined. Therefore, it was not only Jingwan who was in danger, but also Luo Peishan and the entire Luo family. Jin Qinhuang had no power or influence, but he was someone that no one could provoke. He seemed to be noble consort Su's adopted son, but everyone knew that he did not touch any side. Indeed, The current situation has been broken. Then, girl, have you thought about the future? Moreover, Jin Qinhuang himself is not someone that is easy to provoke. Using him to break the situation may bring more trouble to the Luo family. After all, if it were other people, they could still be somewhat apprehensive, but Jin Qinhuang does not have any misgivings. Even if he brazenly makes a move, you can't do anything to him. Therefore, I'm only asking for a status, that's all. Ruan Fengfei was a pervert. She did not want to compete with her. Besides, Jin Qinhuang's heart probably still had his true love, Bai Guang. She had no interest in getting involved. If she had to move her position at that time, as long as the Luo family was stabilized, she could leave. Even if it was a special way to let her live with another person's identity, it was not impossible. It was just that, the wife of the first wife, was the bottom line. She could not even give up this persistence. When Jingwan slightly lowered her eyes, Luo Peishan looked at her with a strange expression. Only in name. Good grandson, you also have to see if Jin Qinhuang agrees or not. He has calculated so much, for so long, now you take the initiative to send yourself to his mouth, wouldn't he swallow you whole in one bite? However, she could not let that living king of hell off so easily. She was angered to the point of falling ill. She had to give him something in return. Girl, you should know that the most important thing is the future. In the future, does grandfather also think that when any other prince ascends the throne, Jin Qinhuang will definitely die? Could it be that this girl has other views? Although there are only a few times that I have come into contact with Jin Qinhuang, and the time is short, but one thing is certain, he is not a stupid person. How could he not know his current situation? But looking at him, he still goes his own way and does not know how to restrain himself. Could it be that he does not care about his own life at all? There is no reason for him to have the will to die. So, he must have means to protect himself. I never thought that when the other princes ascended the throne, it would be the day of his death. Luo Peishan's eyes flashed. This granddaughter of his, although she did not know the truth, but her judgment was very accurate. Even so, Jin Qinhuang is someone who does not act according to common sense. These two things are only used for His Majesty. After all, my status is not enough to be a Qinhuang Fei. Only with His Majesty's permission can we talk about other things. If Jin Qinhuang does not agree, I will not force it. This status was indeed the biggest obstacle, otherwise Jin Qinhuang would have already directly asked for marriage. However, for the emperor, this was not a matter at all. As long as he nodded, if he wanted to promote a person's status, it would be a matter of a sentence. Good grandson, if this matter was successful, it would solve Jin Qinhuang's biggest problem. Luo Peishan could not help but think that the living king of hell was so insolent. The biggest problem did not require him to use the most extreme method to solve it, but it was solved by his future wife. He did not know what kind of expression he would have. Girl, you have to think clearly, Jin Qinhuang's reputation. Rumors are often exaggerated. How much of it is true is still unknown. Moreover, I do not ask for anything practical. Whether he is a playboy or not, it has nothing to do with me. As for his malicious and ruthless temperament, no matter what, he would not go so far as to do anything to his wife. Nowadays, people say that I am a jinx to my husband. With our jinx, who knows, when we meet each other, it will become mutual. Jingwan smiled. Luo Peishan now knew that Jingwan did not care about marriage. This step should have been carefully considered. Since that is the case, I will present this to His Majesty tomorrow and see what His Majesty thinks. Jingwan nodded. She thought again, actually, it is not impossible as long as there is a marriage contract. In any case, granddaughter will only be married after reaching marriageable age. There is still a long time. With a marriage contract as a buffer, grandfather should be able to completely stand firm in the Ministry of Personnel. Some matters can also be handled well. At that time, even if other people want to pull you down, it will not be so easy. At that time, if Jin Qinhuang is not happy, he can also jinx me once. Luo Peishan looked at Jingwan and did not know what to say. In the end, she did this for him, for the Luo family. However, Perhaps he should tell Jin Qinhuang her words to let him feel suffocated. However, this way, Jin Qinhuang would be spared from exposing himself now and doing things like forcing the abdication of the throne. It must be known that even if he wanted to seize the throne, now was indeed not a good time. This was simply an invisible solution to the Qi Yuan's disaster. The third girl had accumulated so much good fortune, if the heavens did not treat her better, they would really be blind. After that, Luo Peishan's interest was piqued. He wanted to know how Jing Wan thought of all this. I don't know how I thought of it. I used to make it for fun in Qi and Fu, but at that time, it was not so detailed and I did not think of further uses. This lie was very familiar the first time, but the second time, when she was in Qi and Fu, she did indeed tinker with a lot of things that others thought were strange, so there was nothing strange about it. Moreover, at that time, she really used the hand crossbow to hunt. It did not seem strange that she wanted to improve it. The reason why she knew about this was because in her previous life, someone gave her father a crossbow. In a moment of curiosity, she took it and played with it for a while. She also specially looked up the manufacturing method. However, too much time had passed and she only vaguely remembered some of it. Thus, she spent these few days to study it properly before she could basically restore the blueprint. However, she estimated that there were still some areas that needed to be improved. She believed that those people in the Bureau of Military Weapons would succeed in the end. As Jing Wan sent Granny Gong to the Rouge Pavilion, she naturally did not follow her to the front study. As Jing Wan did not tell her about what she did before, she did not know her intentions. Thus, the important conversation between the grandmother and granddaughter in the study was not immediately heard by Li Hongyuan. The next day, there was no morning court session. Luo Peishan went directly to the imperial study to meet Lu Qingdi. Naturally, there were several other ministers in the imperial study at this time. After dealing with the political affairs, Luo Peishan stayed until the end and presented the item. Because he had written a separate report, there was no need to explain much. Lu Qingdi was the emperor, so he still had foresight. When he saw the item presented by Luo Peishan, he could not help but feel moved. This was indeed a good item. Come, summon the Minister of Works and the Commander of the Left. Taking advantage of this moment, he asked, "This item is very good. Who made it? Who is so clever?" "Your Majesty, it is my third granddaughter." Lu Qingdi's eyes moved. Jing Wan had left a deep impression on him. "Very good. Last time, that girl helped me find a great talent for Qi Yuan. I have not rewarded her yet. This time, I will reward her as well. What do you want? Tell me. Can my granddaughter be your Majesty's daughter-in-law?" Luo Peishan did not hesitate and said bluntly. Lu Qingdi's eyebrows moved. "Oh, my dear minister, are you interested in my 11th prince?" Luo Peishan was also helpless. He was so sincere. Why couldn't he speak properly? Why did he have to pretend not to understand? What was the point? The 11th prince is still young. He was not even 14 yet. He was a real child. Even if his granddaughter married him in 2 years, she would still be the one to raise the child. Damn it, he wanted to find a son-in-law who could love, care for, and protect his granddaughter. He did not want his granddaughter to be married off to be an old mother. "Your Majesty, this official does not ask for that girl to live a life of luxury. I only wish for her to live a peaceful and happy life. But now, she is a fish on the chopping block." This official feels distressed. Needless to say, this official's wife is even more so. If it was not because I have no other choice, this official would not dare to think about the position of a Qin Wang Fei. Lu Qingdi understood that Luo Peishan was serious. Lao Lu's temper, and his reputation. Although Lu Qingdi did not necessarily know everything that happened in the capital, he was still aware of the Luo family's current situation. In fact, he was also very satisfied with Luo Peishan. Luo Peishan laughed in spite of himself. This official's family's girl is rumored to be a jinx to her husband. As for the rest, if Jin Qinhuang is not willing, this official will not force it. Not willing? Was he mad with joy? Let Jin think about it. The Minister of Works and the Governor of the Left quickly arrived at the imperial study. The finished product of the clairvoyance was directly given to Qin Tianming. Among the current generals, he had the most experience in leading troops into battle. He could be considered an ever-victorious general. He had the most say in military matters. After learning how to use it, he tested it a little. Immediately, his eyes shone with golden light. Needless to say, just by looking at his expression, the clairvoyance's effect was not small. The Minister of Works, who received the blueprint, was also indescribably excited. Official Zheng, what do you think of this blueprint? Your Majesty, this is great. Previously, the Bureau of Military Weapons had always wanted to modify the crossbow, but there was not much progress. Looking at this blueprint, there is at least an 80% chance of success. More importantly, it can shoot 5 times in a row. This greatly increases the speed. Perhaps it can completely replace the use of the bow in cavalry. The cavalry's lethality will at least double. Good. Lu Qingdi could not help but slap the table. He was not an emperor who had the ambition to expand his territory, but as an emperor, he naturally wanted his country to have a strong army. When the left governor heard this, he could not help but walk up to the Minister of Works. His heartbeat quickened. This is good stuff. Everyone knew that a crossbow was much more powerful than a bow. It also had a longer range. However, it took longer to load and did not have an advantage on the battlefield. However, if it could shoot continuously, it would make up for this shortcoming. Lu Chengdi became even more excited because of their reactions. It took him a long time to calm down. The Minister of Works couldn't wait to go back and study the blueprint with the people of the Bureau of Military Weapons. The left commander-in-chief also wanted to experience the function of the clairvoyance more directly, so they all asked to leave. Lu Qingdi naturally agreed, but these two things were of great importance and couldn't be leaked. However, the left governor's plan did not work. The clairvoyance was confiscated by Lu Qingdi. The left governor was depressed. Thus, he shamelessly followed the Minister of Works to the Bureau of Military Weapons. Then, other than Lu Chengdi's personal servant, only the two of them were in the imperial study. Official Luo, you may leave first. This official will retire. Lu Qingdi temporarily fell into silence. The marriage of his evil spawn son was really a headache. Originally, he had already planned to smash the broken jar and see if there was fate in the future. It was really unexpected that Luo Peishan wanted that evil spawn to be his grandson-in-law. However, after thinking about it carefully, it seemed to be reasonable. The Luo family's third miss was indeed a good person. Whether it was character or bearing, it was enough to support the status of a Qin Wang Fei. Summon Qin Wang to the palace for an audience. When Li Hongyuan heard Lu Qingdi summon him, he was puzzled. He did not seem to have done anything in the past 2 days. There was an imperial court every 3 days. It would be good if he could go once in 10 times. He did not have any errands at hand. Thus, he would occasionally enter the palace to pay his respects to Guifei Su and make friends with Lu Qingdi. They just met the day before yesterday, so his old man definitely did not suddenly miss his son. No matter how much he thought about it, he would know when he saw Lu Qingdi. Lu Qingdi did not beat around the bush. Official Luo wants you to be his grandson-in-law. What do you think? Li Hongyuan's heart beat wildly, but his expression did not change at all. What's the reason? The Luo family is now besieged on all sides. You are the best person to help them stabilize the situation. With the engagement between the Luo family's third miss and this evil spawn, he did not need to do anything else. How simple it was. Half of the reason why the Luo family was in this situation was because of Lu Qingdi. I'm asking for the reason why father agreed. Luo Aiqing presented 2 things to me. Thus, I sold you out. Since father has agreed, why do you still ask me? I'm afraid that you will make trouble. In that case, it's settled. Get out. Li Hongyuan got out without hesitation. However, no one knew how excited he was now. However, he had worked so hard for so long, but his wife easily solved it. He really felt a little frustrated. However, his wife was so powerful that he had to solve Ruan Fengfei as soon as possible. Should he kill her directly? Or cripple her? Or destroy her? The next day, Great Elder Princess's mansion sent someone to say that there seemed to be a little problem with the 18 scholar and asked Jing Wan to have a look. Jing Wan stayed in Great Elder Princess's mansion for more than half a day. Then, there was a rumor that Great Elder Princess liked Jing Wan very much and wanted to adopt her as her daughter. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653078. HTML. Please click here to report. Registration is not required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book: www.bicken.com. Bicken.com mobile edition website: bicken.com. Chapter 141. On the day of Great Elder Princess's birthday, she wanted to adopt Jing Wan as her adopted daughter, but she had to give up in the end because of scruples. Now she suddenly mentioned it. If it were not for Lu Chengdi's instruction, she would not have done such a thing. Her purpose was naturally to improve Jing Wan's status. If she didn't have a good father or mother, she would give her a noble adoptive mother. To a certain extent, this kind of relationship was even more intimate than marriage. After exchanging the birth characters of Jing Wan, Great Elder Princess, and Prince Consort Jiang, the result was naturally very compatible. The two families attached great importance to this meeting and chose an auspicious day. Then Great Elder Princess also sent out invitations and invited guests. It was as grand as her birthday. On the day of the meeting, the Luo family went to Great Elder Princess's mansion after getting ready. At an auspicious time, they lit incense and candles and prayed to heaven and earth. Then, Jing Wan knelt down and kowtowed to Great Elder Princess and Prince Consort Jiang, who were in the first place, and served tea. Not to mention Great Elder Princess, even Prince Consort Jiang was very happy. This was his adopted daughter, who had many treasures in her hands. In the future, except for the old fox Luo Peishan, he would be the most convenient one. Therefore, the couple both prepared a big red envelope for Jing Wan. Of course, everyone knew that this red envelope was actually a small thing. It just needed a process. Great Elder Princess's gift couldn't be just this. The more Great Elder Princess looked at Jing Wan, the more she liked her. It should be noted that when her royal brother asked her to adopt a daughter, Jing Wan agreed happily without asking anything. It was not so easy to try it on someone else. Jing Wan followed Great Elder Princess to take a bath, change clothes, and dress up well. Great Elder Princess specially prepared the clothes for her. Everything from head to toe was carefully selected. Except for some things that were obviously taboo, Jing Wan's whole dressing was according to Wang Zhu's style. The material used to cut the clothes was moonlight silk. When she wore it, it complemented her smooth and delicate skin, showing off her straight, flexible, and graceful figure. It was as if the moonlight was pouring down on her body. In addition, every accessory on her body was exquisite, expensive, and exceptionally gorgeous. Coupled with that calm, confident, and dignified aura. Good. Great Elder Princess praised her several times. Originally, she was a little worried that Jing Wan would not be able to hold herself back, so she prepared another set of clothes. However, when she saw such a beautiful and charming Jing Wan, another set of clothes was completely unnecessary. Her adopted daughter should be so noble, so this set of clothes couldn't be more suitable. Even if those princesses and Infanta were to wear it, they would definitely be inferior. Great Elder Princess even felt that this was what her daughter should be like. At this time, she realized that she might have been dissatisfied with her daughter before, let alone those daughters-in-law who were not presentable. Jing Wan happened to meet some of her expectations for the younger generation. She held Madame Luo's hand and said, "Madame Luo, you are really good at teaching people." Madame Luo was also smiling from ear to ear. It was not the first time that she had heard such words, but when it came from Great Elder Princess, it was naturally very important. It's Wan herself. She herself, Great Elder Princess, took Jingwan out to meet the guests. At the moment when the female guests saw her, few of them were not moved. They were all very familiar with Jingwan, and the ones who had the biggest reaction were naturally those princesses and Infanta. They had never realized so clearly that there was a woman in the world who was obviously far inferior to them but looked more graceful than them. In their hearts, it was as if a bottle of mixed feelings had been knocked over. It was complicated and hard to describe, and at the same time, something called jealousy was born. That's right, as Qi Yuan's most respected group of young ladies, there would be a day when they would be jealous of others. How inconceivable, but this was the truth, a truth that they were unwilling to admit. They either looked away indifferently or disdainfully. Ruan Fengfei's eyes fell on Jingwan for a long time and did not look away. Her eyes looked peaceful, but she was the only one who knew what was on her mind. Sitting with her was still the Infanta who had the best relationship with her. She threw the almonds in her hand back to the fruit plate and said, "A sparrow is a sparrow. No matter how much she looks like a phoenix, it can't change the fact that she is a sparrow." Ruan Fengfei did not say anything, and even her expression did not change, but the people around her did not notice her abnormality. Great Elder Princess personally introduced her to a group of noble ladies, from the relatives of the royal family to the wives of the first or second class. Great Elder Princess used her words and deeds to tell everyone that she cared and loved Jingwan. She even said that this girl was like her biological daughter. Although Great Elder Princess had no power or influence, she was valued by Lu Qingdi and could even influence Lu Qingdi sometimes. Her status was extremely noble. It could be said that she suddenly raised Jingwan's status to the extreme, and no one dared to look down upon her. However, more people were pondering the meaning behind it. They also knew Great Elder Princess's position. She had never had much contact with the court officials, but now she suddenly made such a move. Jingwan's status had been raised because Luo Peishan was promoted to the Minister of the Ministry of Personnel. Now that she had become the adopted daughter of Great Elder Princess, her status was basically equal to those first-class noble ladies in the capital city. Marrying a princess meant cutting off their future, so they were not as good as Infanta in marriage. However, these Infanta's fathers did not have much power, and none of them had great power. Therefore, their value was inferior to that of the noble ladies from the families of the important officials in the court. Therefore, the princesses and Infanta of Qi Yuan were actually worthless, and they might not even be comparable to ordinary imperial daughters with powerful fathers. Sun Yijia was married, and Ruan Fengfei was engaged. As the most beloved granddaughter of the Minister of the Ministry of Personnel and the adopted daughter of Great Elder Princess, it was not a big deal if it was just one of them. But when the two were added together, Jingwan became the most valuable noble lady in a marriage alliance. Jingwan had a bad reputation before, which made many rich families give up on the idea of marrying her. Now, they were very regretful. Originally, at that time, if they sincerely came to ask for her hand in marriage, instead of acting high and mighty as if they were doing her a favor, the Luo family would most likely agree. But now, even if they wanted to make a move, most of the families simply couldn't do it. This girl's marriage was also full of twists and turns. Those who knew her well knew that she did not do anything wrong. However, if this girl really brought bad luck to her husband, there might be some problems. They could no longer covet this girl to be their daughter-in-law and granddaughter-in-law, so they might as well watch the show, which might be wonderful. After Great Elder Princess led her to meet the guests, Wangzhu Yu Yao took her new sister to play around and said that she wanted her to be familiar with Great Elder Princess's mansion. For the Qi Yuan dynasty, which cared a lot about their adopted relatives, and Great Elder Princess cared a lot about Jingwan, this place could be regarded as a small part of Jingwan's home. It was no problem for her to live here for a few days from time to time. Yu Yao might be a little spoiled, but she was innocent and lovely. In addition, she might be the only master in Great Elder Princess's mansion who was not hostile to Jingwan except for the two elders. Jingwan liked her very much. Jingwan saw a few Wangye in the garden, as well as a group of talented youths. Seeing them from a distance, Jingwan pulled Yu Yao to stop and squatted as a salute. Then she took Yu Yao's hand and left from the other side. He came suddenly and left even faster. However, most people saw his figure. It was said that clothes made the man, and gold made the Buddha. This sentence was somewhat reasonable sometimes. More importantly, Jing Wan could suppress herself. Although she was not a stunning beauty, she was not bad at all. Except for those men who only looked at the face, if there was a peerless beauty next to Jing Wan, he would most likely choose Jing Wan. Not to mention Kong Qin Wang, whose empress mother intended to make her his second princess, even the Gong Qin Wang, who loved his wife as much as his life, and even Rui Qin Wang, not to mention the younger princes, all had their eyes on Jing Wan. Prince Kang's lustful eyes were too obvious. Because of the empress's words, he almost regarded Jing Wan as his wife. Prince Rui couldn't help but replace the image of Luo Jingying with Jing Wan's face in his memory. Sun Yilan's heart ached to the extreme. She should have been his wife. Li Hongyuan's face was so dark that ink was about to drip out. Each and every one of them dared to covet his wife. They were all courting death. Originally, after Lu Chengdi summoned him to the palace, he quickly found out that this marriage was requested by Jing Wan. Even if his old man didn't say anything, he knew what Luo Peishan presented. Gong Mama had already sent him a letter to inform him, but he didn't know Jing Wan's intentions. When she finally went to find Luo Peishan, Gong Mama happened to miss her, so he didn't know the specific situation first. No matter what Jing Wan's purpose was, asking for this marriage was enough to make him excited. Ever since he found out about this was the first time his face turned dark. If he didn't make them suffer a bit, he really wouldn't be able to live up to his title as the living king of hell. As for the clairvoyance and the crossbow that could shoot 5 times in a row, Li Hongyuan had seen them in his previous life. Especially later, when he went to war in person, he personally experienced the benefits of the clairvoyance and the power of the crossbow. He knew how to make these two things, because after Jing Wan's death, he carefully studied everything that Jing Wan made. However, in these years after he came back, he had never thought of making these two things by himself. It was the glory of Wan Wan. Someone touched the eldest son of Great Elder Princess and smiled ambiguously. Such a tender adopted sister. Don't talk nonsense. Be careful not to be skinned by my mother. The eldest son of Great Elder Princess's mansion smiled helplessly. His wife had nagged him that his mother had prepared a lot of good things for his adopted sister as a gift to acknowledge her as her biological daughter. Why does Great Elder Princess suddenly want to adopt her as her adopted daughter? Is there any reason? I don't know. Maybe my mother really likes her. In fact, Mr. Jiang probably knew the reason. On the day before 3rd Miss Luo came to Great Elder Princess's mansion, someone came to the palace. It must be the Emperor's uncle's idea. As long as it was related to the Emperor, there must be a purpose for everything. The ultimate purpose of promoting a girl's status was to increase her social status. Only in this way could she be worthy of a noble husband. If she wanted to be included in the harem, be a concubine of a prince, or even be a step-princess, there was no need to do so. He glanced at Prince Jean vaguely. No matter what the truth was, he shouldn't ask about it. His mother said that when the new emperor ascended the throne, it was time for him and his brother to stand out. Although today was a grand day, Lu Chengdi didn't deliberately give the courtiers a holiday. Great Elder Princess kept Jing Wan for a long time. When it was almost evening, she let her go back. However, along the way, they attracted a lot of onlookers. It was because Great Elder Princess had prepared too many gifts. There were 10 carriages full of gifts. No wonder Great Elder Princess's daughters-in-law were very angry. In fact, when Great Elder Princess adopted Jing Wan as her adopted daughter, she knew that her plan would fail. She knew Princess Zhan's sister-in-law very well. If it weren't for Lu Chengdi's instruction, she would never make friends with the important courtiers. Even so, she was still a little unwilling. Therefore, she tentatively proposed to Lu Chengdi to let Jing Wan be Prince Kang's step-princess. Lu Chengdi glanced at her indifferently and said, "I've already made an arrangement. You can take a look at another candidate for my eldest son's step-princess." Although she had expected it, the Empress still couldn't help but feel angry. Her son was the eldest son of the legal wife. Although his ability was a little mediocre, he didn't make any big mistakes. Theoretically, he was a legitimate candidate for the crown prince. However, not only was he not conferred the title of crown prince, but he was also suppressed everywhere. Although the empress was excellent at enduring, sometimes she couldn't help but vomit blood in her heart. 3 days later, Lu Chengdi's imperial edict was issued. Yes, it was another imperial edict to grant marriage. When the imperial edict was issued, those who were still thinking of various ideas were caught off guard. At this time, if they still didn't know that great elder princess adopted Luo Peishan as her adopted daughter for the sake of Prince Jin, they would be in vain. After so many plans, they finally came to such a result. Lu Chengdi clearly didn't want any of them to use Luo Peishan, right? At least, they couldn't rope him in by marriage. However, this imperial edict caused many people who were jealous of Jing Yuan to rejoice in her misfortune once again. There were even people who secretly started betting on how long it would take for Jing Yuan to die, be crippled, or be tarnished. They bet on how long it would take for Jing Yuan to die, be crippled, or be tarnished. They bet on how long it would take for Jing Yuan to die, be crippled, or even be tarnished. Luo Peishan is also a jinx to her husband. Maybe she is as tough as Prince Jin. What if they have a good ending? Prince Jin is only her 3rd fiancé. She is Prince Jin's 8th fiancé. Even if she is lucky and doesn't have an accident, she will definitely not have a good ending after marrying into Prince Jin's mansion. Don't forget, Ruan Fengfei is Prince Jin's prospective concubine. How can she compare with Ruan Fengfei? Don't laugh at me. However, it was not the first time that Jing Yuan humiliated them. Even if Jing Yuan fell to the bottom, she would stand up in a higher position. But these people just couldn't learn. When hearing this imperial edict, Ruan Fengfei, who was good-natured, smashed things for the first time, and it was her whole house. Her face was gloomy, and she was just like a ghost. It's not unreasonable to dislike her from the beginning. However, now it seemed that it was hard to vent her anger by killing her directly. Digression: originally, I rolled back to write, but there was a power failure today. It seemed that the circuit was being repaired. I heard that it would take more than a day. Alas, https://www.bicon.com/11/11807/6653079. HTML. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book: www.bicon.com. Bicon.com mobile version reading website. Bicon.com. Chapter 142. Compared to the outside world, the Luo family was even more gloomy. Logically speaking, for a girl with a bad reputation who could not be accepted by her father, to a certain extent, it was like a golden rain falling from the sky if she could become the legal wife of a prince instead of a concubine. However, a certain someone's reputation was so terrible that no one would be willing to marry a girl to him except for those who were purely interested in benefits. Unfortunately, those who were purely interested in his benefits were not qualified at all. The father doted on his son and did not like them. However, Lu Chengdi was really ruthless. In order to balance the situation in the imperial court and prevent others from wooing the Minister of Personnel, he pushed his precious granddaughter into the fire pit. If Lu Chengdi knew what these people were thinking, he would probably cry out that he was wronged. This matter had nothing to do with him, okay? It was Luo Aiqing who came up with this matter. Yes, only a few people knew about this matter. This marriage was initiated by the Luo family. Even Lu Chengdi did not know that it was Jing Yuan's idea. Who would have thought that the 2 elders of the Luo family really put Jing Yuan's wishes first in this marriage? Madame Zhang cried miserably. She held Jing Yuan's hand and kept saying, "My poor daughter." Jing Yuan looked at her and felt tired. Her mother was crying as if her grandfather had passed away. No matter how hard she tried to coax her, she would not stop crying. However, there were some things that she could not explain to her. She had no choice. "Mother, don't cry. If this spreads out, people will think that we are dissatisfied with His Majesty's decision." It was obviously their family who asked for it, but in the end, this was the result. If Lu Qingdi knew about it, he would definitely be unhappy. If the emperor was unhappy, he would definitely suffer. Madame Zhang knew the severity of this matter and finally forced herself to stop crying. Jingwan pushed Madame Zhang to her father, Luo Rongyan, who also looked unhappy and even fell into self-blame. She waved her hand and left. Her father was a big man and he could adjust on his own. However, he only managed to coax Madame Zhang to stop crying. There were still a bunch of people with gloomy faces. Sun Yijia frowned and grabbed Jingwan's hand tightly. She looked like she wanted to say something but stopped herself. Jingwan felt helpless. "Sister-in-law, don't be like this. It's not that serious. Trust me." Originally, I was still very glad that I didn't fall into that pit of fire, but in the end, it was you. If I had known. So what if I knew earlier? You don't want my brother anymore? Did you jump in early to fill that hole? Jingwan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She stretched out her finger and scratched the tip of her nose. "It was you who was schemed against first. You couldn't marry Jin Qinhuang after that. Even if you wanted to fill that hole, you wouldn't be able to. Don't think about these useless things. If my Sanji heard it, he would be jealous. You're still in the mood to joke around." Sun Yijia was annoyed. "Sister-in-law, don't be so absolute." "That's right. You're right. Nothing is absolute." Sun Yijia seemed to have thought of something. "There's still more than half a year before your hairpin ceremony. During this time, anything can happen. I can do it, you can also do it." Jingwan already understood what Sun Yijia was thinking about. Ancestor, could this kind of thing be casually schemed against? If it wasn't done well, it would implicate the entire family. Especially when her own family took the initiative to ask for it. If the emperor found out, she didn't know how furious he would be. When she needed it, she would cling on to it. When she didn't need it, she would just clap her hands and leave. What is your Tian family? What is the dignity of a Qin Wang? She must dispel this idea. Jingwan leaned forward and whispered a few words in her ear. Sun Yijia looked at Jingwan in shock. She didn't dare to believe it. Why? Why did she have to do this? Fine, she could barely understand why Jingwan did this. But Luo Daran and old Madam loved Wan Mimi so much. Why would they agree to this matter? If it wasn't done well, it would ruin Wan Mimi's entire life. How could they bear to do that? Or was it that they were actually the same as the elders of other families? When it came to the family, all their love and care would turn into nothingness in an instant. Was there really no warmth in this world? Jingwan saw her face full of despair, even looking like she was about to collapse. AI, what kind of brain hole did she open again? Be good. It's not like what you think. I really don't care. Sister-in-law, if Jin Qinhuang doesn't care about me, I might have a chance to escape. But if he cares about me, I won't have a bad life. You have to think about it this way. What if your family's youngest aunt's charm is invincible and can even subdue Jin Qinhuang? Everyone knew that Jingwan was joking, but Gong Mama behind her silently told her in her heart, "Miss, you really have invincible charm. You don't need to subdue him. That living king of hell has long been subdued." And in the future, after seeing how the living king of hell doted on Jingwan, Sun Yijia would recall Jingwan's words today. She was filled with endless emotions. Sure enough, no matter who it was, there would always be a person who could make them soft. It was only a matter of meeting them or not, and the way of meeting them was right or wrong. And between Wan Mimi and Jin Qinhuang, there was nothing wrong. Well, for the time being, she had coaxed one. The others shouldn't need her to coax anymore. Right now, she was probably going to see her grandmother. After receiving the imperial edict, she was sent to see her mother. When she was looking for her grandfather, she had him temporarily hide it from her grandmother. She didn't know if he would be angry. On the way to the main courtyard, Jingwan was somewhat perturbed. Grandmother was wholeheartedly doing this for her. It was really wrong to hide such a big matter. Although she didn't want her grandmother to worry, it still didn't change the nature of not wanting to be obstructed by her grandmother. Along the way, Jingwan was thinking about things and didn't notice the strange gazes of the people passing by. Even if they noticed, they wouldn't care. Arriving at the main courtyard, the servant girls hurriedly bowed. "Third miss has come." Then they hurriedly opened the curtain. Jingwan saw that each and every one of them was looking at her face from time to time. They spoke cautiously and maintained their silence. "Grandmother, is there nothing wrong with your mother?" "It's nothing. Besides, my mother still has my father." "Why are you standing so far away? Come here." Old Madame Luo beckoned to Jingwan and then sent the servants out. Jingwan sat beside old Madame Luo. "Grandmother, I'm sorry, this matter. Your grandfather told me long ago. I know your intentions, Wan. Don't worry, grandmother isn't angry." She knew, but she didn't say a word. She respected her decision and choice and buried her worries in the bottom of her heart. Jingwan felt more and more guilty. "Grandmother, I shouldn't have hidden it from you. If there's anything in the future, remember to tell grandmother. You've always done things with a sense of propriety. Perhaps grandmother should be more at ease with you. In the future, as long as it's something that has been carefully considered, as long as you think it's necessary to do it, go ahead and do it. You still have us behind you." This time, Jingwan guessed wrong. She really wasn't worried. With Jin Qinwang doing this, if she was still worried, then she would have been worried to death. Therefore, at this time, old Madame Luo was also black-bellied. Her family's little girl needed to be taught a lesson. The bastard who took away her treasure couldn't be let off so easily. Apart from this, the ones with the biggest reaction were probably Chan Zhengmin and Sun Yilin. They never thought that it would end up like this. If they had known. In fact, not to mention that there was no such thing as knowing. Even if they had known, they couldn't change anything. Not to mention power and status, they didn't have the slightest ability to shake the imperial power. Moreover, the reason for breaking off the engagement with Jingwan was because of them. For Jingwan to fall into the fire pit, how could they not be the main culprit? Sun Yilin didn't know what was wrong with his brain. In any case, after leaving the palace, he went straight to Jin Qinwang Fu. When Li Hongyuan found out, he didn't stop him at the door. Li Hongyuan was handling some matters in the study. When Sun Yilin came in, he didn't hide anything. Although Sun Yilin didn't see what was on the table, but looking at Li Hongyuan's expression, he could guess what it was. His heart thumped. The more the other party didn't hide it, the worse his situation would be. "This official greets Wang Ye." Li Hongyuan didn't even lift his eyelids. "Looking for Ben Wang, what is the matter?" He obviously came for Jingwan, but at this moment, Sun Yilin couldn't say a word. It was reasonable to say that after breaking off the engagement with Jingwan, there was no longer any relationship. As her ex-fiancé, if he said something in front of her current fiancé, the one who would be in the most disadvantageous position would be Jingwan. Although the 3 books and 6 rights hadn't left, but the imperial edict itself was more useful than anything else. He didn't drink, so his mind was very clear. He knew that he was rash. Li Hongyuan finished writing and casually threw the brush. "Ben Wang probably knows why you came. I have to say, you really have courage. However, Ben Wang's heart has always been small." "Wang Ye, this has nothing to do with Luo San Gunyang, you," Li Hongyuan sneered. "Sun Yilin, why do you think that Ben Wang will vent his anger on my fiancé instead of directly looking for you, the main culprit?" His eyes were gradually dyed with malice. "She is Ben Wang's. Be careful of Ben Wang's people dying without a burial place. As long as you are smart, don't try to get close to her in the future." Scram. If one paid a little attention, that day in Great Princess Royal Fu, those who showed a strange expression towards Jingwan, more or less had something happen in these 2 days. If they didn't go too far and cause trouble, Li Hongyuan would have them lie in bed for 10 days to half a month. Sun Yilin took a deep breath. This official takes his leave. Sun Yilin entered Jin Wangfu and left not long after. Outsiders reckon that it was probably just a few words of time, and Sun Yilin's complexion was dark and heavy, so it definitely wasn't some pleasant conversation. Sun Yilin sat silently in the carriage. He truly realized the gap between himself and Jin Qinhuang. That man not only hid deeply, but his momentum was also powerful enough to make people tremble. He really didn't have any capital to compete with him. And it would be strange for such a man to lose in the end. So, at least he could rest assured that even if Jingwan married him, she wouldn't be unlucky enough to be settled with him. It was more likely that Jingwan would reign over the world. Jin Qinhuang's possessiveness towards Jingwan, whether it was because Jingwan was his fiancée or for other reasons, at least he was tolerant of his own people. So, Jingwan's days in the future probably wouldn't be very bad. It was just that he really couldn't get close to her anymore. If he couldn't control himself and did something that he shouldn't do, it wouldn't be good for either side. At the same time, Li Hongming also fell into a dilemma. The most valuable person in the Luo family fell into the hands of that bastard. No matter how good the chess piece was, it was equivalent to a useless chess piece in his hands. After thinking about it, it was time to ask Luo Peishan for the person. Even if Luo Rongping secretly relied on him, it wasn't as reliable as directly grabbing a person in his hands. After all, Sun Yijia married into the Luo family. Even if this line of interest was weak, it still existed, and he must have one. When Li Hongming came to the door, Luo Peishan wasn't surprised at all. He had long expected this day. Wang Ye, fourth girl, is of low birth and doesn't have the qualifications to serve Wang Ye, so Wang Ye asks for forgiveness. Li Hongming saw that Luo Peishan was determined not to agree with him. Since that was the case, his face showed hesitation and also some helplessness. Luo Darren, Ben Wang will tell you the truth. Ben Wang fell in love with your Fu's fourth miss at first sight and couldn't control myself, so. Luo Peishan's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Luo Darren, don't be angry. Ben Wang will apologize to you. It's just that this matter is this one's fault, so please don't blame 4th Mississippi. Ben Wang also sincerely wants to marry your Fu's 4th Mississippi. Ben Wang asks Luo Darren to fulfill this wish. Marry? Luo Peishan's face didn't improve in the slightest. Only Wang Fei can marry properly. Wang Ye shouldn't speak irresponsibly. If Lu Gulao heard this, he would fight this old official to the death. Yes. Luo Darren is right. It was Ben Wang's mistake. Ben Wang is willing to take 4th Miss as a concubine. Ben Wang asks Luo Darren to fulfill this wish. Li Hongming put on a proper posture without any arrogance. Prince Rue, please don't joke with this official. Even if it's a concubine, she still has to perform the full ceremony. How can a woman who can't take out a cloth on the day of the wedding be a concubine of a prince? Does Wang Ye want to let everyone know that my Luo family has a girl who lost her chastity before marriage? At that time, my Luo family will lose all face and the reputation of the other girls of the Luo family will hit rock bottom. Just like the Shen family now, the girls don't even dare to leave the house. This old official didn't offend Wang Ye, right? How can you humiliate the Luo family like this? Li Hongming was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Because of the mention of the Shen family, his face turned green and white. However, he couldn't vent his anger on Luo Peishan. Luo Darren, it's Ben Wang's fault. I didn't think it through. You can't do this. Ben Wang will carry 4th Miss into the mansion first. When she is pregnant, Ben Wang will ask for her to be concubine. What do you think? Luo Peishan looked at Li Hongming for a moment. Wang Ye, please allow this old official to go back and think about it. Of course, there's no problem. This old official will take his leave. Li Hongming looked in the direction Luo Peishan left. In his opinion, this matter was in the bag. What he meant by think about it was probably to go back and confirm the authenticity of this matter. He was sure that Luo Jingying would side with him. However, perhaps the Luo family already knew about this matter. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been no news of Luo Jingying for nearly half a month. Luo Peishan really had the strength of a scholar. He was so serious. Things like a silk handkerchief could also be faked. However, Luo Jingying's status was indeed a bit low. Her biological father wasn't much better than Jingwan's biological father. Her reputation wasn't even as good as Second Master Luo's, and she was born of a concubine. She didn't have the favor of an elder, and she didn't have a noble godmother. It was a bit difficult to take her as a concubine at once. It would be good to bring her into the mansion. After getting into the carriage, Luo Peishan put away his anger and looked indifferent. Everything just now was just an act for Li Hongming to see. He also seized the opportunity to stab him. It had to be said that the Minister of the Ministry of Personnel, Luo Daran, was a proper actor. Back home, Luo Peishan told old Madame Luo that Luo Jingying could be released. Prince Rue has come? Luo Peishan nodded his head. I know. I will arrange this. Old Madame Luo said. If it weren't for Jin Qinhuang's insistence on sending Luo Jingying into Prince Rue's fu, Luo Jingying would have already been dealt with by her. This is also good. Jinggua's daughter-in-law is from Ding Guagong Fu. If she enters Prince Rue's fu, it will balance things out. Otherwise, Prince Rue won't let you go. Luo Peishan now completely didn't consider the issue of his position. It was enough to do his own things. It didn't matter if he had to face the Wangye who were courteous to the wise all day. However, there were always buzzing flies, which was also annoying. Luo Jingying was able to see the light of day again. Old Madame Luo also simply and crudely told the matter to the third branch. Luo Jingying was very happy. After that, the stone in Lucia and Luo Rongping's hearts also fell to the ground. Even if Lucia was abnormally disappointed with Luo Jingying, at this time, she also excitedly prepared to go back and count the dowry prepared for Luo Jingying. A small palanquin is carried into Prince Rue's fu as a concubine. How can there be a dowry? There isn't even a red dress. Old Madame Luo poured a basin of cold water. If you really want her well, it is proper to prepare more silver for her, especially small banknotes. When entering the fu, you need to bribe the servants. If you are too generous, people will think you are a sucker. If you are too stingy, who will run errands for you? Old Madame Luo saw that Luo Jingying had Luo family's blood flowing in her, so she gave a few words of advice. However, it seemed that Luo Jingying wouldn't listen. Grandmother, those things before were all given to granddaughter by Prince Rue. Can they be returned to granddaughter? Old Madame Luo looked at Luo Jingying's proud face and puffed out chest. She turned around indifferently and left. This kind of person really wasn't worth her effort. In the future, if she suffered a loss in the fu, just don't cry. Especially things like the phoenix tail hairpin. Shut up, your grandmother already sent those things over. When Mrs. Lu saw Luo Jingying's petty appearance, she also hated her. Luo Jingying pursed her lips, but after a moment of discomfort, she showed a proud attitude. Mrs. Lu carefully looked at her daughter and suddenly felt that she was very stupid for putting all her hopes on her daughter. She always thought that her daughter was so outstanding and good, but in fact, she was just mud that couldn't support the wall. She even wanted to pry open her daughter's head to see if her brain was a bag of grass. At this time, she still couldn't see the reality. If there was no Luo family, how could she have a foothold in Prince Rue's fu? Do you really think that Prince Rue likes you? Idiot. https://www.bicon.com/11/11807/6653081. HTML. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicon.com. Bicon. Bicon. Mobile Edition. Chapter 143. Probably because she was about to get what she wanted, Luo Jingying's attitude in the Luo family rose imperceptibly. First of all, she began to be picky about what she ate and what she used to wear. In her mouth, the things she used to eat became food for animals. Her favorite clothes in the past were now rubbing against her delicate skin. Mrs. Lu looked on coldly and let her do whatever she wanted. She was too lazy to pay attention to her. However, in just a short day, she completely understood that her daughter was not only a useless person, but also an ungrateful ingrate. She dared to order her own mother around and acted as if she was superior. With this kind of person, even if she gained power in the future, it was impossible to get anything good from her. Maybe some of the things that happened in the past would be dug out and used as proof that you didn't treat her well. However, she clearly knew what Prince Rue was after. She thought that Prince Rue really liked her and wanted to take her into the family just because of her. She had never woken up from her dream. Seeing Mrs. Lu's attitude, Luo Jingying was very angry. However, she was helpless now, so she could only suppress all her resentment in the bottom of her heart. Kneeling to the heavens, kneeling to the earth, kneeling to the monarch, and kneeling to one's parents was very normal. However, there were parents who kneeled to their children instead. She would make all those who wronged her kneel at her feet. There were still 2 days before the Dragon Boat Festival. Prince Rue would only take her into the family after the Dragon Boat Festival. However, she should be able to see him during the Dragon Boat Festival. After not seeing him for so long, she really missed him. Luo Jingying was in a daze and giggled. People who didn't know would think that she was a fool. When Luo Jingying finally calmed down, she began to ask a temporary maid beside her what happened recently. Before, when she was grounded, her courtyard was directly sealed. Her meals were sent to her regularly. She was only left with an old woman and a wooden maid to serve her. Therefore, she knew nothing about what happened outside. There were indeed a few incidents recently, and all of them were related to the Luo family, or more precisely, the Luo family's third young lady. Luo Jingying couldn't help laughing when she heard that someone claimed to have come with Sun Yilan's child and slapped Jingwan's face fiercely. When she heard that Jingwan and Sun Yilan had broken off the engagement, Luo Jingying applauded. The young maidservant couldn't stand Luo Jingying's undisguised schadenfreude. It was no wonder that someone like the third young lady would become enemies with her. In the entire manor, the servants who served her were replaced one after another, and there were not many who were willing to serve her. She had no choice but to be sent by the third madam. However, the third madam had also said that it would only be a few days. Perhaps she really didn't like Luo Jingying's face, so she vividly told Luo Jingying that Great Elder Princess had prepared a lot of precious gifts for the third young lady to be her adopted daughter. She also told Luo Jingying about the clothes the third young lady wore that day, which were very stylish. Luo Jingying, who was laughing very happily a moment ago, turned ferocious in an instant, like a ferocious ghost. "Shut up, you traitorous little b***tch. If you're so envious, go serve Luo Jingwan if you have the ability. What are you still doing here?" She picked up something next to her and threw it at her. The maidservant was also alert. She probably knew that Luo Jingying would go crazy, so she nimbly dodged. This servant also doesn't want to serve Mississippi. Luo Jingwan was furious. Unfortunately, he was a delicate girl in the boudoir and couldn't catch her. The young maidservant seemed to feel that it was not enough to vent her anger, so she said that Jingwan was bestowed to Prince Jin. However, Luo Jingying stopped this time. "Princess? Princess of the living king of hell? Ha ha ha." Luo Jingying even tidied up in a good mood. She no longer hid the things that Prince Rue had given her before. Although a few were broken by old Madame Luo, most of them were still intact. However, because she didn't have suitable clothes to match, Luo Jingying only chose a few simple ones. For people who didn't know the goods and simply thought that they looked good, it was still very harmonious. Luo Jingying directly went to the elegant begonia residence with her head held high. Jingwan saw that Luo Jingying only brought a young maidservant and broke into her courtyard. She was really open-minded. Moreover, she didn't even mind that it was shabby. She had always liked to be surrounded by attendants. Luo Jingying originally thought that she would see the depressed, thin and haggard Jingwan. As a result, Jingwan still had a happy expression. Her complexion was rosy and the skin that was exposed was so tender that water could be pinched out. She subconsciously withdrew her hand. She probably didn't know that when facing Jingwan, she always had a subconscious inferiority complex. She thought that she was better than Jingwan in every aspect, but in reality, she couldn't compare to her in any aspect. Fourth younger sister, congratulations on your recovery. It's just that fourth younger sister has been sick every 2 to 3 days, and every time she's sick, it's for 10 days to half a month. She's so weak, what should we do? Jingwan took a sip of tea. Luo Jingwan, you don't have to be hypocritical in front of me. It makes people feel disgusted. Jingwan raised her eyebrows in surprise. Why would I feel disgusted without any reason? Fourth Mimi, did you eat something bad, or? Jingwan's gaze swept over her lower abdomen. Luo Jingying subconsciously covered her lower abdomen, as if her secret had been exposed. Jingwan actually knew everything about Luo Jingying. Just this morning, Madame Luo had told her everything. She couldn't really be pregnant, right? She had hit the jackpot this time. Haha, should she say that she had some dog shit luck? Prince Rue had difficulties in having children. He still didn't have a son. Giving birth to the eldest concubine-born son for him was a good thing. However, it was reasonable to say that Luo Jingying, a girl, suddenly lost her virginity. In this conservative world, she shouldn't know more than that, unless someone told her. At the very least, the most basic judgment was probably that she was having a normal life. However, Jingwan wasn't interested in this kind of thing. With Luo Jingying's brain, once Prince Rue realized that she was actually worthless and stopped protecting her, she would probably be eaten up very quickly. Fourth Mimi, why are you looking for me? Luo Jingying slowly put down her hand. She wasn't sure if she was really pregnant. It was just that her normal life hadn't come yet. She originally wanted to wait a little longer. She didn't expect that she would suddenly be released and soon be taken away. Thus, she chose to hide it. She wanted her husband to be the first to know. Moreover, what if it was spread out and someone harmed her child? That's right. In her opinion, other than Li Hongming, her biological parents were not worthy of her trust. I just heard that third Mimi broke off the engagement with Lin Gongzi, which surprised me. Ayaya, speaking of which, third Mimi has only been in the capital for 2 or 3 months, and you have already talked about several marriages in succession. However, after the engagement, you broke off the engagement faster and faster. Third Mimi, don't tell me you brought bad luck to your husband. She shook her head regretfully, but fortunately, third Mimi is a rare commodity worth hoarding. You don't have to worry about no one wanting you. Jingwan nodded. Fourth Mimi's words are correct. Isn't Jie's third fiancé? Each one is more noble than the other. My life is too good, so there's no way around it. Luo Jingying's expression was slightly distorted. It was this flaunting tone. Jin Qinhuang's reputation wasn't good, but he was a genuine Qinhuang. He was incomparably honorable. She heard that he even had wealth comparable to the national treasury. Not only that, he also had the most precious treasures in the world. There are 7 in front, and 6 are wasted. I just don't know how long third Mimi can hold on. Let's not talk about other things. Fourth Mimi will definitely be able to see the day I marry. AI, that's not right. You probably won't be able to see it. After all, as a concubine, I probably won't have the chance to return to my maternal home in my lifetime. I might not even be able to walk out of the second door of the Wangfu. How can fourth Mimi see me get married? Because the other party was Prince Rue, the most promising candidate for the crown prince, she was willing to be a concubine. Because in the future, she would have limitless glory. But now that she heard the word concubine from Luo Jingwan's mouth, she couldn't wait to tear her mouth apart. Even if I am a concubine, it's still better than you. I don't know that I will be cursed to death that day. However, third Mimi, you are also cursed to your husband. Maybe nothing will happen. In Mimi's opinion, although Jin Qinhuang's reputation isn't good, but in this marriage, third Mimi, you have the advantage. You can't get married, Jin Qin can't find a wife. He is Qi Yuan's #1 handsome man, and you are not Qi Yuan's #1 beauty. No matter how you look at it, you have the advantage, don't you think so? Jing Yuan looked at Luo Jingying. She didn't know that it could be considered this way. She calmly nodded, fresh flowers paired with cow dung. Naturally, cow dung is more advantageous. So shameless. Luo Jingying was so angry that her liver hurt. Third Mimi has self-awareness. That's right. Just like fourth Mimi, I know that I can only be a concubine. Luo Jingyuan. Fourth Mimi, you can keep your voice down. I'm not deaf. Luo Jingying sneered, sooner or later, you will kneel down and beg me. Jingwan laughed. I'm grandfather's most beloved granddaughter. My adoptive mother is Great Elder Princess, and my fiancé is Jin Qin. Now people say that I'm the first noble lady in the capital. What about you? You are just a concubine who is about to enter the prince's mansion. Kneel down and beg you? Is there something wrong with your brain? She tilted her head and looked at Luo Jingying as if she was watching a joke. It was really interesting. So what if Great Elder Princess accepts you as her adoptive daughter? Do you really think that she likes you and values you? She just despises your low status and thinks that you are not qualified to be Jin Qin's princess consort. No matter how noble you are, what can you do? Do you want me, as your younger sister, to tell you what kind of miserable ending Jin Qin's previous fiancés had in the end? https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653083. HTML. Please click here to report, no registration required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book: www.bicken.com. Bicken.com Mobile Edition website. Bicken.com. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.